right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to open the meeting for the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. Before we get going, I just want to mention that one of Tewksbury's finest, Mr. Matthew Small, passed away last week. He was a 22-year veteran. He was a administrative director. Very tragic. His lovely wife, Heather, and he has 2 young kids that he left behind. He does have a GoFundMe site. It's gofundme.com/Matthew Small. So at this time, I'd just like to take a moment of silence for one of our very own, Matt Small. Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to please stand and let's salute the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's jump right into the scheduled items for 6 o'clock. It's the elementary school bond issue. Mr. Montori.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Clark Rowell from Unibank and Kelly Odoms, the treasurer collector, to come on up front. And they'll have a few things to go over. But before I turn it over to Clark, today the town had a bond sale for 2 projects. One is the elementary school, new elementary school building, and water distribution projects. They totaled $62 million, $60 million for the elementary school project and $2 million for water distribution. The bond sale took place this morning at 11:15. We had 9 bids that came in. The winning bidder was Mesero Financial Inc. Out of Chicago. They had the lowest true interest cost in the bid at 2.43%. So we were very happy with the bid today. We also had approximately $6 million bond premium that reduced the amount that we had to borrow from $62 million down to $57 million for both projects. Again, this was a good day for us. I'm going to have Clark talk more about it, and then I'll close with just some final comments on the project itself. But I'll have Clark talk about, explain what happened today in a little more detail and what the board needs to vote tonight. I passed out a vote that the board will need to make to approve the bonds.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It's also a pleasure to do this bond issue today. It went very well. Just to give you a little flavor of it, the market has been very busy. The 11:15 time is a little unusual. We usually sell bonds at 11, but the market being so busy, we actually moved it to try to move out of the way of a couple other larger issues. But just so you know, you were the 5th largest competitive sale in the country today. And that's why we were sort of saying, okay, we don't want to be in that time slot and so on. As Richard mentioned, you got 9 bids, but again, to add a little flavor and give you a better sense of why I've turned old and gray, these bids come in electronically, and they usually come in for the last minute. With 30 seconds to go, you had 4 bids, and in the last 30 seconds, you got 5 more bids. And the best part of the last minute bidding is the winner, Mesero, actually bid with 2 seconds to go. That's what the electronic bidding allows. But it can be nerve-wracking at times. Let me explain one item that may come up or may not come up, but you may see later and wonder how could that be. As we go over the results, you're going to see all the interest rates in the bonds are at 3%, 4%, and 5%, but actually the true interest cost is at 2.43%. And that lower rate takes into account the amount of bond proceeds you actually get in hand. The coupons, the 3s, 4s, and 5s are the rates at which you pay interest. But as Richard mentioned, you've got a $6 million premium, so you're actually only paying interest on $56 million. The 243 sort of levelizes that field and says, but you also got $6 million of premium, so you really took in $62 million, and that sort of equates it to the 3, 4s, and 5s. Those on the 56 million, the 2.43 on the 62 million. And I hope that was explained well enough, but it is a little confusing. We are asking you to approve the sale tonight, and there is a form of vote, and I believe you've seen it, or it's been distributed. You can, if you would like, you're welcome to read it all the way through if you'd like. It's long. What more often happens is I provide just an explanation of what's in there, and then it's so moved, and this all goes into the record anyway, so at least, but it's your prerogative if you want to read, or if you'd rather be the more abbreviated form, whatever you prefer.
I would
At
go
this
with
time,
the abbreviated.
what's that?
I would go with the abbreviated.
Yeah, we like the bottom. The bottom line is good. We did get the packets. We had the opportunity to read it, but Mr. Montori, maybe just provide a summary, then we'll open up to the board for questions.
I'm gonna have Clark.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can walk you through this, and by the way, the rest of the documents should arrive midday Thursday, and if you don't mind, we're asking you if you could swing by Town Hall and sign those documents between Thursday and, say, Monday morning. This document, the vote, is acknowledging that there was a select board meeting this evening, and I will also let you know there are 2 changes I'm going to ask bond counsel to make, but I want you to know of it, so when you see it's different in the record, that's the reason why. This meeting was posted for 6 o'clock, not 7, so I'm going to get that fixed. First item there is that you consider the $56.16 million bond sale, and you're being notified that it was advertised for competitive sale. There was an official statement, a preliminary official statement sent around, and that by virtue of the results, the bond should be sold to Mesro Financial, and that's. Then down below there, you actually see the table of all the results. And there you see Mesro's winning bid at 2.428 and all the other bids thereafter. At the bottom of the page, the first voted is just acknowledging the sections of the general laws under which the projects were authorized, and acknowledging that you're funding the school, the athletic fields, and the water lines, and the cost of issuance. And this, by the way, is where I'm going to ask bond counsel to make a second change. That first line there, Chapter 44, Section 7, and Chapter 59, Section 21C, I'm going to ask them to add Chapter 70B. That's the School Building Authority Act, where they're getting funding. The top of the second page, it is acknowledging that the treasurer had prepared a preliminary official statement dated March 29th. That was sent out about a week before the sale, inviting the world to bid on the bonds if they would like, and a final official statement that we're working on now that shows the final results. That will be available within a week, and you're just acknowledging that the preparation of those 2 official statements is confirmed, approved, and adopted. The second paragraph on that second page is just acknowledging the maturities and that the date of the bonds, that's June 18th, 2019. That's the date when you'll actually get funds in hand and the purchaser will have bonds in turn. Third paragraph is just acknowledging the form of the bonds, and in particular, it'll be done in $5,000 denominations. The fourth paragraph is citing that there will be an early redemption feature. This is very standard for bond issues, with a minor exception. In this case, the early redemption, the first date of redemption is June 1st, 2027. Market convention is typically a 10-year call. We tend to push that, especially with GO issues, general obligation issues, and put in an 8-year call. And you've been using that 8-year call for probably at least 10 years. And it's worked very well for us. The bottom paragraph on that page is saying that it's a book entry system of evidencing the ownership of the bonds. That's more related simply that there was the form of the bonds, and that U.S. Bank will be your paying agent. The top of the third page is introducing to you all the interest rates in all the bonds, and you'll see 5% coupons for the first 9 years, 4%, and then 3% coupons on the long end of the issue. And that the bid by Mesro Financial And at their bid price of $62,143,527.50, and the true interest cost at $243 is the best bid, and that you are accepting it and authorizing the treasurer to award it. And please note then that that price of $62 million, that's going to fund both projects, $62 million, and cover all the cost of issuance. The next paragraph talks about a continuing disclosure certificate. You folks have been signing one with every bond issue for many years, but it's just a standard practice. Under SEC rules, you must file annually an update of the official statement, and you must also file when they occur certain material events on a website so that the whole world, people might be buying your bonds in the secondary market, can see exactly what's going on in Tewksbury. And then the bottom paragraph there is there for more form, but it says these bonds may be secured by insurance or letters or lines of credit. No bond insurance was used. And finally, the last page is saying, and this, of course, this is all done in accordance with the open meeting law.
Mr. Montori, anything to add?
Just a couple of things. So if the board approves the bond sale, I have 5 copies I'll pass along for you to sign. But before you do that, just a couple other quick things. We had a call with Standard & Poor's this past Thursday to review our bond rating. And they reaffirmed that Tewksbury was a AA+ rating. We always hope to have an upgrade to our rating. We keep striving for AAA, but maybe a ways down the road. But they did give us a good report. They gave us, in my estimation, a strong financial report when they did reaffirm our rating, so we were happy with that, and I think that helped out today. We had a good day today. We brought in the rate lower than we expected. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I want to thank Clark because we pushed him to get this bond sale out, probably quicker than some people may have wanted us to, but we wanted to take advantage of the market. So it was a quick turnaround when you think about the vote at town meeting being the first week in May, getting all the documents ready. Kelly and her staff did a great job, bond counsel, the accounting office, getting everything that was needed to get Standard & Poor's to do a rating review, to get Clark's folks to put everything together and get it out for bids. So it was a quick turnaround, and a lot of work took place over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of anxious moments wondering what the rate was going to be. But I did want to say that, and I do want to say that tonight is Clark's last bond issue. He is retiring in a couple of weeks. He has served the town for 19 years. I think $328 million worth of bonds and debt have come through him. So before the board takes their vote, I want to thank him personally for doing outstanding work for this community and guiding us well financially. Knowing the bond issues, I've done 7 with him just being here. We have done tremendous when it comes to interest rates and bond premiums. And there's no secret that our financial stability has a lot to do with his guidance when it comes to bond issues. So from the administration and from the town, I want to thank you, Clark, for all of your work in the last 19 years. We're going to miss you. Brianna Soul is taking his place, and I know she'll do a great job. She's exceptional, but she has big shoes to fill, and we're going to miss you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I think all the good things that happen, you should all take part credit for that, if not a lot of the credit, because you're the ones that built this town and run it well and so on. However, I'll miss you. It's been fun, but I'm looking forward to retirement. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I want to open up to the board, but I do have a few questions, and then we'll just open up to the board. So for tonight's vote, are we looking at one vote or a few votes? Because I heard the word amendment a few times, Mr. Montori.
No, one vote as amended by, with the amendments Clark mentioned and in the handout that was presented.
Okay, so before we take a vote, at this time I'd like to open up to the board for any questions and or comments. Ms. Stronach.
So I talked to Richard first thing this morning, knowing that this was coming today, and I said, what time are they coming in? And he said, around 11:15. I said, please text me. And at noon, knowing the work that you all do, I texted him and said, what is going on? And he said, I think this is what the rate is. And the reason, excuse me, I am so excited about this is because when we put this before the voters and our town meeting, we were thinking that we were going to get a rate of 4.2%. And that translated into an increase for the school project, not the water distribution, but that translated into an increase of about $442, if I am correct.
445.
445. And this will now, because this rate came in so well, and because of all of your efforts getting this out so early, this is going to translate into
52
$352.
to the average home.
So we were able to secure $100 less on the increase for a very substantial and very needed and deserving project for the town. So I've sat at this table for many years across from you, and I wish you all the best. And we've been very fortunate to have you here. And I just want to say I am very, very thrilled, and I'm so excited about this rate because I was worried that, like Richard, that it could have gone the other way and it could have been a little bit higher, and then we would have been eating a little crow. So thank you for your efforts. And Kelly, I see you sitting there almost very sad to hear Clark's leaving. So
Very.
thank you for your work on this as well.
He's been a very good mentor to me since I've been here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. But that's why Richard pushed so hard, too.
Yeah.
We did the market, I'm sorry for soon to be retired as I watch my savings say, where are they going? But what's happened at the same time, tax exempt rates have been falling and falling and falling, and just said, this is a market we want to go for. So, but that being said, I still appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Ms. Jane Miller?
Thank you. I just wanted to, I read all the documents today, and I just want to acknowledge Kelly, your staff, and you for all of the work. I know a lot of work goes into preparing everything. And Richard, you and your staff. And Clark, I haven't met you before sitting on this side. I've seen you from the audience because I've been going to these meetings for 13 years. And I've seen a lot of the work that you've done over that time. And so this is a great way to go out, right? Retiring on a high, low note, so to speak.
I agree.
So it's really wonderful for our voters, our residents, our taxpayers who will be footing the bill for this to come in with such a tremendous savings. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Kratman?
I'm just going to echo the statements of the other selectmen. Thank you so much for your hard work. I was just checking out this business. They've been in business since 1937, so I guess they've been around for a while. They've been doing this type of work and getting this type of rate to save the residents. $100 is $100 each year when we're putting these in. That's a lot of money out of everybody's pockets. So I want to thank everybody for their hard work getting this and getting this rate. The market's been going up and down, up and down. I can imagine what you guys have been going through because I've seen it go day to day of what's going on, depending on what's happening in the world. So the fact that you locked it in and grabbed it at the perfect time, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Brandon?
Just a quick comment. I just want to go back to the AA plus rating. Again, thank you for all your hard work and good luck. But I guess, I know Mr. Johnson, when he was on the board, he would always talk about strong fiscal policy that we practice, and that's, I just wanted to kind of just revisit that I think with our town manager and his staff and the fiscal policy that we practice each town meeting about how we pay for things, and we're being frugal when it comes to spending and things like that. I think that's a pretty special thing to have a AA plus rating. So I guess having that rating, did that help 9 bidders, right? I guess if you didn't have that rating, you'd have 1 bidder, right? Or is that how that works? Or no?
No, bids wouldn't be quite as good.
Or is good other competitive?
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, we talked
Yeah.
about 4.2% down to
Yeah.
2.4%. I just wanted to mention that, proud to have that AA+ rating. Hopefully, we can get to where we want to get to, but does that report, Mr. Town Manager, does that report come out once a year? Can that go down?
So it comes out every time we have a bond issue, they'll do a review of the rating. There are other times during the year when there's not a bond rating, they may just check in to do an update, but it's mostly when you do a borrowing that they'll update it. And as they say in the report, if you look at the report at the end of it, it's always a concerning comment where they say this could go up, obviously, if things get better, but it also could go down. So we always want to make sure we're
Well, it's a special
staying-
time.
Exactly.
For us as a town, and it hit the mark at the right time, so thank you very much again. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good.
The rating report, process, by the way, Standard & Poor's has 7 different criteria they look at, one of which is management, which is 20% of the score. The town has been receiving the strongest financial management score. So that you can't do any better, at least in S&P's eyes.
That's great. That's great to hear, yeah.
Thank you for that.
All right, very good. Just a few comments and a few thank yous. It's interesting, you know, we say that we're excited about this. I spoke to a few residents, and they said, why are you so excited? You know, this could be boring stuff. But at the end of the day, it couldn't have been any better for the residents of this town. And just to level set, we voted for the school increase into the average taxpayer. And Ms. Stronach, I think the rate of $445 per year was based on a house that was assessed at $400,000.
404, yes.
404. So I think you can be pretty excited now that the same assessment came essentially 30 days later to $352 a year. So it's still an increase.
Right.
But
But it's the highest point that there will be in the cost. So it's a declining cost. So that's the first year.
exactly. And that's, 2 words, that's good stuff. Now with the water project, this year the rates are increasing 0%. I know we don't have a crystal ball, but I think it was my understanding that the water, based on the water line bonds, we were predicting a 4% increase in 2021. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And the good rate that we got today will help mitigate potentially that 4% increase.
Okay, because we all know about water and sewer in Tewksbury, so it's important to note that we speculated, or that's what we have to do, is speculate it was a 4% increase the next year, not this year. So that's even better news as far as the water increase as well.
Absolutely.
That could be impacted, so we're going to save some dollars. At the bottom line, we're going to save some dollars because of all the hard work that the team did today through the school taxes as well as the water project. So, and I'm not, just echo my colleague's comments. So, Clark, I wish you very well in retirement. However, remember there's such a world called a consultant. And sometimes consultants can make very good money. So just food for thought as you go into retirement, that's all. That's a trick question. So again, I can't thank you enough for all your work.
I haven't given my cell phone out to anybody yet, but who knows?
I have it.
Consultants make a lot of money.
Oh, she's smiling.
All right, with that being said, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to accept the bonds as presented and make this document part of the official record so that we have all the information in the vote.
As changed.
As the changes to the date, the time in paragraph 1, and add in sections 70B in the actual vote section,
As amended.
as amended, as presented.
Okay. And Melissa, you good with that? You got it? Okay, very good. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thanks again, team. Wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Start on it.
Okay. All right, moving to our next schedule item, 610, Department Goals and Objectives. First up, Human Resources. Teresa, just name for the record?
With Teresa Belanger, Human Resources Director. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my goals for next year, or this upcoming fiscal year. The first thing I plan to do is implement some human resources Munis applications. I'm currently working with Tyler Technologies to set up the building blocks of our applicant tracking program. This is, from what our trainer has mentioned, one of the more complex programs, so it's a little bit more time consuming. I've done some training with on-site with our representative, and I have a couple more dates coming up in mid-June. And in August, we hope to do a beta test with a small group of department heads to see how the flow works before we roll it out to everybody. Probably focus on the DPW since they seem to have the most needs for staffing. After applicant tracking is rolled out, I plan to work on employee self-service, which I'm told is pretty straightforward, and we can get that up and running by the end of the next fiscal year. My hope is to have that available for open enrollment. Since we won't have a major change year like this year, it should be easy for people to go online and kind of make their changes and get a feel for the system. In addition, I would like to provide employee training. We are working with Maya to roll out an online program called Local Gov University, which is computer-based training in-house that our employees can do right at their job sites. It'll allow us to focus on department training that they need to have, and then also HR policies for new hires, so they can have automatic training when they come in the door. In addition, I'd like to bring in some on-site training for management, mostly for the newer managers. We have a lot of folks who are fairly new, and just getting them up to snuff with various things that could help them, tools to best communicate with their employees, just some new techniques. And lastly, improve risk management. One of the things we're noticing as part of the risk management committee is that we don't have a great process for tracking our training and certifications that our employees have. Police and fire use IMC, which is great for them, but many of the other departments are either just keeping paper files of training or Excel sheets. So to bring all that together in one place at the touch of a finger would be great. So a subcommittee will be looking to see if we can use modules within Munis or if we would need to look at an outside vendor for an HRIS or training tracking service.
Good job. Very good, good job. At this point, I'm going to open up the board for questions. Mr. Kratman.
No, I think that's I like what you have in front of you. I think that's some great goals that you're trying to streamline the training and keep track of it. I know that can be difficult with the number of employees, getting everybody up to snuff with the training, and I have to take those different trainings every single year working for the state, so going through all those online trainings, keeping track of them all and making sure that everybody's met their ethics, harassment, all the different things that you have to go through each year. It can be encompassing and doing that kind of work, and so any kind of online tracking system that will keep it in and remind everybody to be doing it and when they have to do it and when they have to update those type of things. I think that's great. So I like your goals, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Ms. Jane Miller?
This is exciting. I do a lot of this stuff every day. So the local GovU we've rolled out in Reading, and we find that the trainings are really long, and they're like over an hour, and that seems to be onerous for a lot of people. We also found that our DPW employees don't have email addresses, and so that was really a hard thing to get buy-in if employees don't have email. So you're doing it as sort of like a group training, and so that plays into the Maya credits thing, is you only get credit for one thing anyway, so we do that. Oh, yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Do you have a safety officer as part of the DPW, that your risk management team, is that like a staffed position?
No, we don't have a person in that position specifically. The director and the assistant directors take part in the risk management.
So I've seen it where there's a person who works in like the water department and also has this role of kind of managing the trainings in the department, because DPW is so unwieldy with, you know, the DOT trainings and the, you know, materials, data sheets, and on and on and on and on, so.
Yeah, Meyer asked us to designate somebody, and we haven't done that yet. No one's stepped up that wants to be designated.
You do say, I can put them in contact with somebody in Reading who's fabulous at doing this, and
Okay.
we get a lot of awards from Maya for it, so it's really cool. This is all excellent stuff, and I think tracking it through the Munis HR piece is really, really cool, and rolling that out is no small task, so it's a great goal, and I look forward to seeing how you do it. And
Thank you.
picking your brain, so it's really cool. Thank you.
Ms. Tronick?
I just want to say that you come before us every year, and what I see is that you are adding building blocks. I like to think of your goals as building blocks and using the tools that you have already at your disposal to increase your efficiencies. And I just think that you're also always, your goals are always focused on customer service, with the user of your end being our staff, and making that staff being valued and knowing that they can pick up the phone and have somebody be customer service oriented, I think is really important. So I just want to say thank you very much, and I know you have a small staff, and that's a lot of work, and I just want to say that we truly appreciate your efforts, so thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Brian Dick?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair. I think everything's pretty good. I guess there's one small thing, the OSHA guidelines that were in last year's goals. How did that go? I guess it came into, we had to, took effect on February 1st, 2019, and to reduce our workplace injury rates. So that was a goal of that risk committee. So that's still ongoing, I'm sure.
Yeah, but we still meet, we meet once a month, and then we have, additional subgroups that go. Actually, this year so far, our occupational injuries are down compared to previous years. So that's favorable for us. That's always great. As far as getting ready for OSHA, I think for the DPW has been working so hard to make sure all of their people are trained, sending people to as many trainings as we can, even outside of the normal work area, to get them trained, to get them ready. Brian has taken this, the bull by the horns to make sure his staff is up and running. So he's been fabulous with that.
Yeah, so that just jumped out at me, being a 2/1/19 date on your last year's goals. So that's ongoing, and seems to be a positive, right?
Yeah.
Injuries are down, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has great things to offer when we have our meetings.
Awesome.
So it's nice to see different aspects.
Fantastic, yeah. That was just my only comment, Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, short and sweet. Teresa, since you started it off here for goals and objectives, I'm just going to say, we know Mr. Montori runs a very tight ship, and I know his department heads that are here tonight and yourself do the same, so I thank you for that. Sometimes when you hear the word HR, it can be very busy, a lot of noise, and coming from you and your small staff, you guys do such a tremendous job. There's not a lot of noise. And I'm not saying Tewksbury is the best. Actually, I will say Tewksbury is the best, because if you look around other neighboring towns, I don't think they're as lucky as us. And I'm going to say the word luck, but it's really because of your skills and how serious you take the position, so I thank you for that. And the only thing I'll leave you with is we just did a budget, and now we're going to, just like that, we'll probably start planning for next year's budget. And like always, I just always ask the department's heads, we just talked about a significant increase because of the elementary schools, and rightfully so, but always just pinch your pennies like I know you guys do, and for all the department heads, because it's important to the residents. So I can't thank you enough for an outstanding job, and that's all I had, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. See, not bad going first, right?
Right?
Painless.
It was a little nerve-wracking, but it's good. It's all good.
You do a great job, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Next is the library.
My daughter always wants to go first, because then it'll be done.
Nice.
But I don't feel that way. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having us all, and truly for listening to what we have to say every year. This is a privilege that we have that does not happen in many towns. So thank you very much. So, that being said, I do have 3 goals. I have many goals, but 3, Richard limited me to 3. So, the second and third goals are carryovers from the previous year because I did not get them done. So I will talk a little bit about the first goal, which is a new one. It's new as a goal. We think about these things and talk about them frequently. But we at the library would like to evaluate our policies and procedures, especially, well, we'll do all of them, but especially the ones that prevent people from using the library or discourage them or make it difficult for them to use it with ease. So we'll be looking at economic factors in the community, personal factors, disability of all kinds, transportation, those kinds of things, as well as the organizational barriers, which are our barriers, the things that we do and that we can't do in some cases, that make it harder for patrons, we call them patrons, they're our residents, from using the services that they might need from the library. And then once we're done doing that, and that is an ongoing kind of thing, but once we're done with this part, we'll determine what changes we might be able to implement that will positively affect resident use of the library. We have so many resources, and we would really like to encourage everyone to use the library, and we really would like to eliminate some of the barriers that get in their way. So that's our first goal. The second is an ongoing goal, but we do want to continue to preserve the condition of the library trustee minutes. So we're still working on that. It's a larger project than we thought for my poor one secretary. So, and doing all the other stuff. So that one's carried from last year, and then this year this is carried, but we are developing a new library strategic plan, and our strategic plan guides our library service. So you can see how the other things, all fit together. And we would like to set some more goals that will benefit our residents and make working at the library a true pleasure, and it already is, but there's lots of things we can do to make it even more fun for us and for our residents. We have determined what format we're going to use. It's called Libraries Transforming Communities, and I gave you a link, but I don't expect that you had the time to look at anything. So basically, we're planning on having conversations with individuals or groups that will help us better understand how they view the community and what they are looking for, as well as what kinds of things might be in their way. And these are not focused on the library necessarily. We'd like people to talk about the community as a whole. We want to better understand the community, and we make a lot of assumptions, we all do, about what the community is like. And sometimes we're wrong, and we'd like to be right more often. So the process is focused on learning from the community members, and then what we can do is share that information back and find out where the library can affect some change within the community, and also see if there are partners within the community that might want to work with us or work together on some of the larger problems that aren't necessarily under the purview of the public library. So we're going to finish that information gathering in the fall, and then we'll write the long-range plan and submit it to the Board of Library Commissioners. This is required of us in order to apply for and receive state aid to public libraries. Plus, I like doing it, so we'd be doing it even if we didn't get a reward. So I just think it's an important thing to do. So
Very good.
that is it. Thank you.
At this time, I'll open up the board. Mr. Kratman.
I cannot be more impressed with what you do with the library.
I'm very lucky.
My wife and daughters are there, I don't know how many times a week. They love it there. They had the MCAS this week, and I don't know where my daughter came from, but she decided to go to the library and study there because it was quiet and she could focus there and go those things. So it's a great place. Kids enjoy going there. Families that go there. It's what you want at that. The location is just wonderful for the community. I think that is one of the best things that we have in this community. And we should be so proud. Other than the big cities, I think we have the best library around. The programs that you offer, everything that you do, the things that are run there, the staff is so helpful. Every time I walk in there, it's just somebody, hi, how are you? And it seems like you know everybody by their first name as you're walking in. So I can't applaud you for the work you've done and what we have in this community. I really want to thank you for
I
the
give
work.
full credit to the staff of the library who are engaged and enjoy their jobs.
Yeah.
So thank
It's a
you.
wonderful location,
Very
and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Mr. Brian Dick.
Jumping around, Mr. Chair.
Switch it up.
Doesn't want to get bored.
Thanks for coming tonight. I guess a couple quick questions. So
Yep.
goal number one, it's a big goal, kind of segues into goal 3, right?
Yes,
You mentioned
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So what's an example, I guess, of a barrier? You must have, to have it a goal, there must be maybe
Mm-hmm. Right.
something at the top of your list that you go,
Right.
we got to do better
Right.
at this. What's an example?
Well, libraries are always talking about how they can serve their constituents better. But there's been a lot of discussion in the library field and professionally and within the Merrimack Valley about what some barriers are for our patrons, our library users. And the easiest one to think about is transportation. Some libraries, including ours, don't have a bus stop near them. It's kind of a hike. I mean, even if they stop at the hospital, it's still a quarter of a mile to walk down to the library. We do not provide any assistive services for our programs. So anyone who might have a hearing or a sight disability cannot necessarily take advantage of all the information that we provide through lectures and classes and those kinds of things. There's lots of things signs. 20 years later, I've only been here 10 years, but we still don't have signs in the building. And partly that's because I'm so worried they're not going to work well, because no one reads signs. Did you know that? No one reads signs.
Yeah.
But we need to do those kinds of things just for wayfinding, so people don't have to ask us questions or wander around the building.
Sounds like there's a lot of things.
There's a lot. Yeah, it's
Those
not
are
going to be
3
done
quick
in
ones.
1 year.
Boom, boom, boom. So, thank you.
I've thought about it.
Quickly, public service announcement. Could you just state the hours the library's open and the days?
I am happy to do that. So through June 23rd, we are open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10 to 9, Thursday and Friday from 10 to 5, Saturday from 9 to 5, and Sunday from 1 to 5. After June 23rd, we just drop our weekend hours. So we're open Monday through Wednesday, 10 to 9, Thursday and Friday, 10 to 5.
Great. And then the last quick one is on the strategic plan. So I
Yep.
guess I was reading that, are we getting, and I know you're doing this long-range plan to get more state aid. So,
It's a requirement, yes.
It requires
It's part of
all
that,
stuff.
yeah. Mhm.
Are we getting the max state aid that
We
can
are.
get at this
We
point?
are, because we are not on a waiver. We have not been on a waiver for 2 years. We worked very hard, Richard worked
Yep.
very hard with us.
Fantastic, yeah.
So we are getting 100% of what the legislature provides for the
So
state aid.
I thought that was the case. I just like to hear.
Yeah,
like to talk
yeah,
about it. So
yeah.
that's-
And
that's
it
all.
really, it does help us. It allows us to pay for some things that we can't pay for out of our normal budget. So we appreciate that.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very, very much for
Thank
answering my
you.
questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Stronach.
I have to echo the comments of my colleagues up here. I do think that the library is a gem in our community, and it is always amazing to me the diverse activities that you have there and the range of people that go. So I want to thank you and your team for that. But when you come every year with these great goals, and I really appreciate that. And again, I have to say, the thing that most impressed me about your leadership style is the way that you look to engage your staff, because I think, to Mr. Kratman's point, the staff is engaged, so they make it a very welcoming place, and you work at that, and it shows. And it's contagious. Your enthusiasm for the library is contagious.
my
So
favorite
I want to
place.
thank you and thank your staff. And I applaud your goals for barriers, and my chairman is probably going to tell you to pinch your pennies, but I think
shall.
that we're going to see some...
As usual.
I think we're going to probably see some requests that come
We may.
to eliminate barriers that are going to come with a increase. So if there are ways that we can help you with, I know you guys do a lot of grant writing and things like that, we're happy to write letters of support for those kind of things. And I'm glad that Mr. Dick spoke to you about the waivers and stuff, because I feel like we had to bring that forward and continue to make sure that we stay off that, because
Right.
we were in
Yes.
some dangerous times. And I know it's taken us a long time, 10 years it took us to dig
Yeah, it
out of
did.
that, 10 years.
It did, yeah.
So, thank you for your work, and thank you to your team, please.
I'll give that, I'll send that to them tomorrow.
Very good.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller?
Thank you. Thank you so much
Now
for
I
all
know
of your
where to
work.
look.
Yeah, I know. It's-
Got me all confused.
My colleagues have all said everything that I agree is amazing, all of that. Your staff, fabulous. Trustees work very well with you, and I think that makes a difference too. I wanted to just comment on the waiver. I think it's great that we're off the waiver, and the programs that you've introduced, the teen program in particular. The teen librarian has been tremendous for our kids in the community, and it's a wonderful additional safe space for kids outside of the schools, and I think that the importance of that in today's world can't be overstated. So
agree.
it's just really wonderful, in addition to all the other things you do.
No, I understand.
Yeah, your strategic plan, your kind of meeting, is that a World Cafe style sort of thing? It's like an old,
For
like
the
a SWOT
meetings?
analysis, stuff like that?
No, there are some specific rules. It's not any place to complain. We're just really talking about aspirations for the community, what things might be in the way, so transportation to the library, for instance. Well, there's not a route, and how can we get that? But it really is, it's more than that. It's what kind of a community do you want to live in, and it allows people to think about that. And gives us some ideas as well. And so it literally looks at that and looks at what some of the barriers might be. I'm using that word a lot, I'm sorry. And then where might we partner with someone? I might, say, well, you know what, this issue that's come up is a really important issue. Opioids, I know, is going to come up.
Right.
And so here's what's going on with that. Let's see if we can, provide some more information or whatever it is that people might need. But it definitely, we will end up responding within our mission, which is literacy and education and lifelong learning. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Until you had said things like assistive services for folks with disabilities, I would have said the only thing you're lacking is delivery to my door, like Amazon.
Well,
It's a-
there's a cost to that, and we can talk about it. But yeah,
DoorDash.
we're actually working on starting a volunteer-run home, it's
kidding.
called Library at Home.
Library-
Basically, it's a delivery service for people who can't get to the library, whether it's a temporary, an illness, or not too much of an illness, I hope, no measles. But, you broke your leg and you're stuck, you can't
Sure.
get back, someone who might be homebound, elderly. And we're looking to implement that with volunteers who will take books and visit.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Anything that we can do to help you become more accessible to our community is wonderful, and I support it fully. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
All right, just a few comments. Diane, I always love the fact you never take any credit, and all the department heads, you guys never take any credit. You pass it right down to the
I
team.
sit in my office.
Very
They do
patri-
all the work.
That's awesome. It's just like Bill Belichick. I love it.
I'm not quite as stern as he is.
The second thing is just for the residents. You have roles and responsibilities for yourself and your staff. That's not included. This is kind of the higher level
Yeah.
goals and objectives.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So even these three here, you talked about, there's so many sub-bullets under the three here, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, I could have gone on for pages, but that's not
We-
what we want.
Exactly. No, that was very good. It's interesting, the third bullet, it kind of just, library strategic plan, the outreach is already incredible. To Mr. Stronach, when she
We can
called
do
it a
better.
gem, I call it an absolute gem. So you almost like have to rename or rebrand the word library over the years because it's so much more. So maybe you can be the first in the Commonwealth to rename the Tewksbury Library to something a little bit different. Anyways, food for thought.
No pressure at all.
No pressure. But you understand what I'm saying.
But you'll
It-
hear my staff saying, I say, why can't we just be a library?
I know, the point is, you guys do so much more.
We do a lot. We do a lot.
And kind of, we recognize what the name
Yes,
says.
yes.
And my colleagues asked, what's the head count? Has the head count, we call it the head count or the throughput, has that increased year over year?
In circulation or number of people who have library
Just the
cards?
numbers of folks are traversing in, I know we include.
Oh, I knew I was supposed to look at those. That was the one thing I was supposed to do
Yep.
before I came. I would say that we are holding steady. I don't know that we are lowering or increasing. I do know that the way the library is used, circulation is decreasing, and that just means people aren't checking as many things out. But electronic books, circulation is increasing, programming, people who walk into the building to learn, to attend events is increasing. I think we've got some, I'm working really hard with the staff to start identifying these critical moments where we've made a difference in somebody's life. Our goal is to make a difference in people's lives and to improve, help them improve their lives. And we need to capture that. So we've started capturing that in a way that will be useful and will help tell our story.
Exactly, that's it. I recall last year that just the head count passing it out is just incredible. And
We're...
And to Mr.
yeah.
Kratman's
And summer's
point-
starting, and we're going to be even busier, and I'm so excited. It's my favorite time of the year. Everyone's so tired.
To Mr. Kratman's point, the library is always jam-packed for all the right reasons, so. So that's all I had, so thank you very
Thank you.
much for presenting, you did a very
It's
good job.
always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to jump to the Council on Aging.
Please.
Nicole Hutchin, Director of the Council on Aging.
Nicole, before you start, do you want to introduce some of your council members?
I was going to get to that.
Okay.
So I was going to say, it's been my first year. I've survived. It's been a year of transition and a year of learning. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the team that I have, as well as the support of the board that I have. As shown to you by the 4 board members that are here tonight, we have Bob McGinnis, Linda Lane, Lynn Murphy, and Dr. Aldridge Chohan. So, I'm grateful that they are able to attend. It means a lot to me. So things that I want to work on this year, I want to increase the baby boomer population. So baby boomer is a term used to describe a person who was born between 1946 and 1964. We identify anyone that's 60 years or older as a senior. I want to increase participation at the senior center by working to implement programs that appeal to the younger population of seniors. This will include additional intergenerational programming, additional after-hours activities as available, working collaboratively with other town departments to participate in their events as well as co-sponsor events, and host community yoga in the summer. I want to work to develop policies and procedures. Although there are some in place, I've noticed from other communities that we could afford to step up our game at the senior center. So I want to make sure that our team, the seniors in the town, is protected at all times, and I'm hoping to create and implement the following policies. I'll be working with town council to go over a trips policy, a transportation policy, as well as guidelines for participation at the senior center. As I stated last year, I wanted to work on building utilization. There's been a lot of changes in just a short year, and I'm hoping to continue with that forward movement this year. It's always my goal to make sure that we're using the senior center for what its intended purpose was when it was originally built. The former library has now been identified as the media room. TV has been hung on that wall, and I'm hoping to host movie viewings as well as educational seminars. Changing that room will allow us to make more use of a space that prior was significantly underutilized. I hope to purchase new furniture to make the space more inviting, as well as comfortable and sturdy chairs for the seniors, as well as new tables. We'll be able to host lunch and learns, much like we've done in the past in our halls, for topics to include sensitive subjects on aging, end-of-life planning, et cetera. We've hosted, and I'm hoping we're able to continue to utilize local organizations to host trainings such as falls prevention, safe driving program, and we are hoping to host a program for seniors about the real ID that they will have to change over to. I also want to continue to identify new clinics to offer in the clinic space. This will include things like a hairdresser, a barber, dentistry, and other clinics depending on the senior's needs.
Okay, very good. Thank you. At this time, I'll open up to the board. Mr. Brian Dick.
Thank you very much again for coming.
Of course.
Very well organized. It's great to get the 2019 goals and all the things that were accomplished. It was very easy to see that. So you had a great, you had a 1 year, you survived. But it was
I survived the first year, and we got a lot accomplished as a team.
As a team, yeah, as a team. So I guess going back to the 2019 2019 goals, you added additional van driver.
So we added
How did that?
Yes.
How did that positively? Or how did that affect positively?
So we added a fourth van driver, and then in the process, a few months later, we lost a van driver. So we're at 3. We actually recently added a fourth van driver as needed back onto our schedule. You would be amazed, I could afford to have maybe 1 or 2 more drivers in another van. As you heard with the library and, in general, transportation is the biggest issue amongst the community as well as for the senior population. But our transportation program is significantly growing. We accommodate medical needs. They get first priority. We do market basket trips to make sure that the seniors in the community are able to get the groceries that they need, and then anything like errands or appointments that they may have.
I think transportation is huge. My mom just had a hip replacement, so I can be very compelling to explain how much travel balance that. So, hi mom. No. Anyway, I like how last year you had a transportation goal, and now you're having a policy around that goal. I think that's pretty cool. Like how you've kind of segued into that.
Yeah. So I think that, if you don't have a policy, then, things can get a little gray. And, as I'm sure you're aware with the population that I deal with, that can become sensitive. And so it's hard for me to have a leg to stand on if I don't have a policy in place. And so doing that will benefit everyone.
Well, you have a good group, a lot of smiling faces out there tonight. I appreciate you guys attending and
Yeah, I'm very
supporting Nicole. I think, that I like the baby boomer concept that you're doing, trying to get a lot, maybe.
I can't take credit for this,
seniors.
but one of the seniors or board members referred to it as a seenager.
Yes.
So
that's good. And then obviously the clinics, that's a great goal to have this year. So thank you very, very much.
you're very welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Ms. Miller.
Thank you. So this is fantastic. I appreciate all the documentation that you added in so to follow along. One of the things I hear a lot about baby boomers is that they don't like to be called seniors. And, right? Right. And the chief is right with me on that one.
You'll notice a lot of senior centers are rebranding to community centers.
Right.
The problem with that is you have the young group of seniors and you have the older group of seniors. And so as you sort of transition through that, I think it'll be easier. But right now, we're in a little bit of a tough place, and that stigma still definitely exists.
Well, and there's a lot of generational differences.
Of course.
Yeah, so my parents were on the cusp of the baby boomer generation. They're not quite there. They're just before. So it's interesting to have those conversations with them. And it requires you to add a lot of programming, I think different kinds of programming.
Yeah, especially, trying to utilize after-hours programming. I actually had someone come today that wanted to offer cooking lessons, and I think that'd be a great event to host after hours, to get some people that, fall into that category but still work to come and attend the senior center and see what we're all about.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's exciting. I do hear from folks in the community that transportation is an issue, just as Mr. Dick said, and trying to meet the needs of all the diverse places they need to go.
So
is
remember
really
that when you're telling me
challenging.
to pinch my pennies.
No, I was going to say, that's all him. I was just going to ask. When you think about the things, the programming and the services that you provide, what is the biggest challenge for you in that's impacting your budget?
I would definitely say the biggest challenge, the biggest challenge I have is meeting the unmet needs for transportation.
Okay.
I started last fiscal year through this year tracking those unmet needs, and we on average are turning 2 to 3 people away a week, on average 10 people a month. That don't have access to get to appointments that they need to get to. Some of it's based on location, some of it's based on timing and scheduling. I would never turn anybody away if they had an inability to pay, but sometimes it just doesn't work, unfortunately, for our schedule. The biggest budgeting things, I think, are just, maintaining the building, trying to be proactive rather than reactive. We have a great facilities manager, and he's really worked with us over time to get to a point where we're running smoothly on that end.
Okay. Well, I think in terms of the amount of services and the increasing usage in the town, your department's probably getting a lot of percentage increase in access and use, in the building and accessing your programs.
We probably have 2 to 3 new people sign up every other day at the senior center.
Yeah.
We're constantly processing new people into our system, and I think that just goes to show what we are offering, and we're trying to do a good job marketing to the community about what we have to offer. And it's important for me, again, as you said, to sort of break down the stigma of senior. I don't necessarily like that term. I don't like the term senior citizen. We have to kind of think about how we talk about aging.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation, a bigger conversation.
Well, I look forward to attending some of those conversations and hearing more about the great work that you and your staff and your board members do. It's a lot of heavy lifting, but fun.
Exactly.
I've been to some of I'm going to come to another Silvertones dance with these.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Ms. Strong?
I'm going to echo the comments, and so too, in the lieu of time, I want to thank the board members for being here and for all of the volunteers that make that place run, because there is, when I go to the senior center, I am amazed at how many volunteers, and it's always somebody different when I go to that desk, and I'm there,
We have upwards of 150 volunteers. That's how we save our money.
I'm next. Actually, I'm next. I'm going to get there.
So I'm just going to say, the reason he's the chairman is because he's the one that carries the heavy message for the rest of us. But we do have to maintain that AA bond rating that Mr. Montori so proudly displays for our bond council. So anyway, I just want to say that the work that you all do with, again, a small staff. I mean, in Tewksbury, we ask a lot of our departments with minimal staffing compared to what other communities have in similar districts, is how I would put it. So I certainly appreciate that, and I know that a lot of work goes into that. And, the events are fantastic, and I really enjoy attending them. But I have to say, being on the tail end of a baby boom, now that you called me out, and as I see other hands in the audience going up and shaking their heads, knowing that I'm not alone, I never thought of enrolling at the senior center. I go to a lot of events there, but I don't think of I don't consider myself a member or a non-member. So that conversation about the community center, I think is, maybe time to have. So I don't think of myself as like, oh, I'm not a member of the senior center or a member. So I don't know, maybe that's part of the conversation that we talk about too.
Great.
But it's at Ms. Miller's point, it is probably time, and I see your board members saying, yeah, there might be time, so, but there's lots of great things. Huh? Yeah. Oh, my jacket. So anyway, I just want to thank you, and mostly thank your volunteers, because that place wouldn't be able to run the way it does without all those volunteers and your staff supporting those volunteers, getting the things done that they do there every day. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Kratman?
Once again, the things that you run down in this program, I always got a kick out of when people called it the senior center, because I just laugh. I'm like, I couldn't keep up with everything that you do down there. It's like, I go and I stop in and I see the programs that you're running, and you're going from here and you're going to this program, you're going to a show, I'm like, I go around a lot of places.
Better social calendars
but it's
than I
like,
do.
yeah, you got a very busy program. There's everything for everybody to do down there. I think it should be called the activity center, honestly, because of how much goes on. I also fall into that category, so I don't like this either. So maybe I'm on the tail end, but it's still, what you do and how you get people around. I can give you a little bit of good news. I know we are adding Sunday service to the LRTA starting on June 19th.
Great.
So actually, I had a conversation this morning with the executive director, and Richard and I and a couple of other people have talked and spoken about maybe changing some of the bus routes around and looking how we can get people around. So the fact that maybe getting people from the activity center to, or whatever you want to call it, to the library, maybe we can change those routes around, look at how we can get people there, accomplish a couple of goals, get people to where they want to go, having Sunday
We
service.
frequently take seniors to the library.
And that's something, like I said, we can discuss, we can together getting departments. So everybody working together in conjunction is what makes this community a great place. So we should have a group conversation of how we can help and get those things done. I know we got the third van, and I know that's helpful, but
We only have two.
what happened?
We had a loaner van from the LRTA that we swapped out, and they gave us a van that belongs to the town. If you'd like to get us a third van, though.
I'll have to bring that up at my next meeting.
There we go.
But, like I said, for the things that you do down there and all the programs, we got to take care of the people that built this community.
Absolutely.
So I am all in favor of trying to help in any kind of programs you're running. You do a great thing. I love all the intergenerational breakfasts, all the different programs that go on, and things like that. I love coming down to those different things, running the programs, everything. I think it's great. And whatever else you need, just,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kratman. All right, here's where I'm going to be a complete hypocrite. Pension pennies. Mark just mentioned it. When it comes to the seniors and the residents of this town, they grew up in this town. They built this town. You have raised your kids and families in this town. You volunteer consistently and donate in this town. So you guys get an absolute, unequivocal green light, and we all have a special heart for the seniors in this community. So there you go.
All heard it here.
So there you go. Okay, but I truly mean that. You mentioned the word volunteers. It's for the people, by the people, meaning you volunteer. The council on agent makes it what it is. It's truly incredible. So I cannot commend you enough and all the volunteers enough. And like I said, the board has your back.
Thank you.
So remember that when it comes to budget time. So Like I said, it seems like you need potentially a new van. And I was going to talk about building utilization. I was very happy you brought that up, because my friend over there, Bob, said it's getting a little bit crowded in the pool room. So just food for thought, as capacity increases longer term, is it enough? Do you have the space? Do you have the capacity? And I think that's.
So we, just not to cut you off, but we, that topic was discussed as part of the building utilization for FY19. When we did the building audit, unfortunately, there wasn't another space that we could identify. We had the fabric arts room, the schedule wouldn't work, and we had the library, which was being converted to the media room. So in exchange for a bigger space, the pool room players received 2 brand-new pool tables, and that satisfied their need for a bigger space. We've also accommodated their need by letting them use the conference room. So when they have food and events, they have the conference room as well as the pool room.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, that's all I had. I think, and I'm looking forward to the cookout. Is the cookout in September?
September.
Okay. The only thing is we cannot let Mr. Kratman near the grill. That's the only thing. No one likes hockey pucks as burgers, so anyway. I cannot thank you enough, and I cannot thank the residents and the seniors that run it down there. Just unbelievable. So thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm happy to let Mark take the grill for me, so Mark.
Fight it over grills.
Maybe we'll just get pizza this year.
Okay, very good.
Okay, next up is telemedia, Brian Dorrington, and Jason, why don't you come up and join him?
Are you taping and presenting tonight?
Oh yeah, we're taping this at the same time too. It's different on this side of the camera for sure. It's a little different. Yeah. So thanks for inviting us. We have kind of a big lofty goals upcoming. Our first goal is to utilize the Tewksbury High School studio to create studio shows. I know that there was some talk about building a studio. But we spoke with the high school, we spoke with Superintendent Malone and Principal Vogel over there, and they don't really utilize their studio that much, especially after school hours and especially during the summer. So it's pretty much just sitting there. And we spoke to them, and we offered to do some improvements that are necessary. We're upgrading their lighting grid, we're rewiring the studio, and we're going to add more lighting design to it. Right now, they actually don't even use the lights that are in the studio, and it's just because it was kind of almost set up as an afterthought. It's nobody's fault. It just really wasn't, managed kind of like video professional-wise. So once those installs are done, and those are actually happening this month, we plan on setting Tuesdays aside from 3 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And we're going to have initially it's going to be sort of an open house where we can come in and train people, and we'll teach them how to host their own shows, how to stream their own shows live, how to edit their own shows, insert graphics, all that type of thing. So that's going to be, and we're going to try it out for a test pilot run just on Tuesdays. They said if it starts to grow into something and people start to use it, we could get another day of the week as well. People can host a show on any topic they'd like. As long as it doesn't violate the FCC obscenity laws, they can create the show. We're going to take a step back, and we're just going to be teaching them how to use this stuff. We're not directly going to be involved in production, so it's not going to be a show produced by the telemedia department. We're offering training and a platform for these people to show their programs. And now we distribute not just on the channels, we now have 3 channels, but we also distribute on YouTube, Facebook, and there's actually a video on demand page on the website, which just went out. So that's going to be a big goal, and hopefully we can attract some diverse programming on there. So we're going to be reaching out to citizens and try to get a push. And we've already had some interest in shows, and if anybody watching has any interest, feel free to reach out to the telemedia department. Another one of our goals is to expand live broadcasts. We were able to invest in a new broadcast server, which is basically, without getting too technical, everything runs through the broadcast server. Everything that we play goes through that server. And the one that we have is pretty much revolutionizing video over IP, which means we can send signals from pretty much anywhere where there's an internet connection back to here. It could be on a dedicated line. Right now we have a dedicated line from the school to here. So that means that there's no network interference for phones or anybody else's device. It's strictly for our purposes only. There's also bonded cellular technology we're going to be taking advantage of, and that's really in the field. That's what a lot of news teams use. I don't know if you've seen those little air cards that AT&T and Verizon have, but those really just attach onto a little encoder that goes onto a camera, and we can be live anywhere, in seconds. And one of the big pushes is sports. There's been studies after studies about PEG and what people watch, and sports, especially high school sports, and government meetings always come up as the two most popular things. And high school football is normally the cream of the crop, I would say, in town meetings. So we plan on streaming every home football game live. Nice. And rebroadcasting it. We already have a high school student who's going to be doing play-by-play commentary. We're still looking for a color commentator. It'll be full with graphics and updates, and it'll be all the works. So that's something we're really looking forward to. And then, like I said, we can use that technology anywhere around town for any type of events. And we're actually working with Jamie and the schools to kind of improve the infrastructure and rely more on those specific dedicated networks, so we don't have to rely on those air cards and public internet. And the last thing we want to do is kind of expand collaboration with town departments. We've worked with Arthur a few times for some stormwater stuff. We've worked with the police department and the Board of Health, and just sort of producing in-house videos and then educational videos. We really like to offer those services more for those departments, whether it be for training, whether it be for PSAs, or any type of in-house usage that they would like. We can offer them training, and they can take the cameras out and use them for whatever purposes they need. So those are our three. Those are just three of our goals. We have a few other ones, but as I said before, we're limited to three. So those are our top three right now.
Had to keep it short.
Had to keep it short, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick thing. Next to Brian is Jason Marshall. He is our operations manager. And behind the camera in the booth is Courtney Carviello. She does our taping and broadcast of various events and meetings. So that's really the team. And Courtney also doubles as a part-time clerk in the HR department. So we have her working pretty hard. So just wanted to make sure I said that.
I apologize for not introducing these guys. Jason has been fundamental in really coming up with the infrastructure. He's really kind of like the tech brain knowledge behind this whole thing, so he kind of makes these, makes this stuff work. And Courtney has been, she's new, but she's always available. She does great work covering meetings. She does great work in the field. So I think right now we have a pretty solid team.
Very good. Ms. Stronach.
I'm very excited, and first of all, I know I always call you Ryan. I know your name is Brian.
Yes, it's Brian. but like I said, it rhymes, so it's okay.
So I just want to say that this is really exciting. I'm going to leave this for Selectman Miller because this is really her baby, but all of this work has been years in the making, and we've been talking about this stuff, and to see it actually come to life is very exciting. And I am thrilled that we are already taking something that is existing in the town in terms of the school, making it work so that we're not just building something and having it sit there. I know that that is, for me as a resident and people that I talk to, there is nothing more annoying as a waste of taxpayers' dollars. And being able to utilize that space to its fullest potential when that building is open basically 24/7. When you think about, I live there, right near there, and that people are coming out at 11 o'clock at night. So to be able to use that space is just phenomenal. And I applaud the use of that in terms of not recreating what we already have, because I think that that's wonderful. I just have one question for you.
Sure.
You talked about the dedicated line. Is that just to the high school, or is that for all schools?
So that is just to the high school
Okay, I
right
just
now.
wanted-
We would like to expand the network. It's not easy, but we've been working with Jamie. I mean, we can expand the network to the library, the senior center. You know, we can, and those would all be dedicated lines. Right now, we can still do it via public internet, or like I mentioned, the bonded cellular. It's just a little bit, it just would probably be more higher quality, I guess, if we do the.
So I kind of understood that. I just don't want to give people a false impression, because if I was an elementary parent, I would be saying, how come you're not having my kids play? You're having all the stuff for the high school. So I just want to make sure that people understand that that dedicated line makes it easier to transmit out of the high school. And I'm sure we're just at the beginning phases.
Yeah.
You guys are babies. So I'm sure that we have a long list of things to come. So thank you very much for your work.
Sure.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller?
Thank you. It wouldn't be without the dedication and focus of these people up here that this never would have gotten done without you folks and appointing the committee that you did. So there's a lot of I don't want to say credit that can go around for making sure that we can get to this point, and bringing you guys on as professionals and well experienced is tremendous, because you've really been able to take what we have and then mold something really wonderful out of it, and bring tremendous knowledge and skill to this town, to stuff that other towns have had for 20 years, and we're just starting. So I'm excited to see your goals. I had a couple of quick questions for you. At the high school, is the auditorium, are we able to go live from the auditorium?
Yes.
Yes.
So with the device that we have, it's separate from the. Actually, what? There is a LAN connection in the auditorium. Yes, they did put one in for us.
Recently, I think. Yeah.
Recently, yeah, just a few weeks ago.
Right, exactly.
And actually, we put capital money aside. This is kind of another goal, but to plan on outfitting that room with cameras, permanent cameras, as are in here. So it will be a similar setup.
Well, I think that would be tremendous. As the former moderator, there are times I wanted to, our town meetings aren't always huge, and to be able to utilize the comfort there, and it's also better for the sound, better for our residents with different kinds of disabilities to be able to work out of that auditorium. So it's tremendous that you've already started that. Once upon a time, a long time ago, although most of the folks up here will remember, there used to be a very adversarial relationship between the towns and the schools, and we don't really have that anymore. And Mr. Dick was on the school committee, as I was, and it's great to see you working so collaboratively with the school department to open up the usage of that media center. When that high school was built, that space was created on a thought or a hope that we wanted to have this kind of programming, and it really didn't go in that direction for a number of different reasons. So it's great and exciting to see you guys really improving the infrastructure, improving the equipment, and being able to reach out to folks. And I assume it's open to the public. You're going to open your programming up to the public, but also I hope that you work diligently to get students in there. Not just in a teaching setting, but in a fun kind of way to do their thing. We have a tremendous drama department at Tewksbury High School, and so having the cameras in that room would be great. And we have a lot of talented people on the stage crew who would benefit from really working with you guys and being your volunteers or your interns eventually to help with the coverage, because it looks like you guys are going to be really busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we actually had we were the senior advisors for a senior camp this year, and he did a really good job. And then we also did some, we helped out on a short film for another senior project. So, yeah, student involvement is great because it teaches them, but it does help us too, you know, especially every single one that we've come across is very well trained. So they have a good media program there for sure.
It's tremendous, and I think there's a lot of excitement there. I hope down the road in a couple of years, when we have kind of everything kind of where you want it to be, that one of the things that the cable committee wanted to see over time was a summer program or a camp or something for maybe middle school students, or where they can kind of get into it, and you know, that's whatever's available to staffing and so forth. But I think that would be a really tremendously popular thing to do. So I'm really excited, and anything you need and we can help you with. Budget provided. You already have your own budget anyway, so.
Yeah.
And you're kind of rolling in it for now.
It's a little different than, you know,
I know.
the typical budgeting.
I know. So it's exciting. I know you guys have a contract also that's going to be coming up soon with the, I don't know if it's Comcast or Verizon. Verizon is next coming up. So so we'll be watching, but thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Brydek?
Just wow, and you know, nothing really to add other than it sounds like an exciting time in your department, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mark Kratman?
First off, I just want to thank you for stopping some of our phone calls. I don't know how many times we got calls over the last 3 years. We can't hear you. We can't see you. Why isn't the camera working? Why aren't you broadcasting meetings? This is a long time coming. I am so grateful that you are here, and everybody's doing a great job. I haven't received a phone call like that in a while. I don't know if anybody else has had one, but nobody's called me complaining about the audio, the video, what's going on. You're rebroadcasting the meetings now, so if somebody's busy, they can always go back on. I was just checking on the website. I love the fact that you have a list on the website on there that you can go and you can click on any of the meetings, and you can broadcast and click right off the things. You can already get the Memorial Day Parade up there. You have all the different things that you're broadcasting. Courtney did a wonderful job, even though we drove her all around town in a golf cart running around.
Very good job.
You know, those are the type of things that people are busy. People want to know what's going on, and the more information we can give the public about what we're doing in town and how we're doing it is always great. And so I love the sports, I love all that, but just getting the town meetings out there, nobody has time to go to every meeting or to see these type of things, but you can go online, and I know a lot of people do, because they'll call me and say, I watched the video of you the other night, and you did this and this. But those are the type of things we want. We want them to know what we're doing, how their money's being spent, conservation, every town meeting that we're doing. I want the residents to be able to have the time to know where their dollars are being spent, and this is a great way of doing it. So you're invaluable to the town. I think you're doing a great job. I said the more broadcasting, the better. I get a quick, why Tuesday? Did we select it? Is it because what's worked out for the
That was
school?
the best day for the schools.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one day that would be the best in terms of, I guess they have like a bunch of dances and stuff that rented out. And that was the day that
absolutely understood.
Works for us too.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do another day, because I know we do the farmers market on Tuesday. Seems like there's a lot that happens on Tuesday as well. But
Okay.
that's probably the same thing that, there's probably something that happens on every day. There's
Right.
always something going on in this town. But I just want to make sure that people are able to access it. The fact that it's at the school, I think it's great, because kids, especially my kids, they don't watch TV. They're all watching YouTube or this or that. It's like, and then now they all want to be YouTubers. So they, if we had a broadcasting school, or we did something, worked with the school and taught people. I know a lot of people that are very successful around this community that are now broadcasters and making a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's my friend John Cox's daughter is, on the TV all the time with Nesson, making all kinds of money doing those type of things. Gets to go to the Super Bowl for free. That's a great gig. So if we can teach our kids to do these type of things, get the programming, those are the type of things that, I'd love to see those happening. And just the more information we get out, you're doing a wonderful job. I just want to thank you.
Great, thank you.
Very good. All right, short and sweet. So Brian, Jason, and Courtney, you folks are here because of this concept of a cable committee. And under new business, we're going to talk about boards and committee appointments. But this is an example of all the many boards and committees that we have in Tewksbury, all volunteers, all residents, just trying to do good work from the bottom of their heart. And this is a beautiful example of the Cable Committee, and Ms. Miller doesn't take a lot of credit. She gives the credit to this committee. But this committee probably presented one of the most comprehensive analysis to date, saying this is what we need, and then it was, you know, all we had the easy job of just approving it, and then hence Mr. Montori's hires smart folks like you, and here we are. So it's just a reflection of how important boards and committees are through residents, and again, all volunteer work. So, but it's just in summary, I think this is pretty cool in the fact that, I'll just boil it down for the residents. Now we're gonna essentially have 3 channels, one for the schools, one for government, us, and then one for community service. Is that fair?
Yes, so the way it is, and I can even read them for the residents, so the public channel on Verizon is gonna be number 32, channel 32. And the public, that sort of has like different talk shows. It will have the cooking show, and we actually show some public domain things at night. There's a lot of really cool movies in public domain. The education channel for Verizon is 34, and that's gonna be school stuff. That's where we'll put the sports and any type of events at the school. And then on Verizon, the government channel will be 33.
That's awesome.
And that's where you can find the town meetings. And then we've also been running a lot of the Massachusetts House of Representatives sessions, which I think are really cool and really informative. And then I'll just mention the Comcast Public is channel 8. The Comcast Education is channel 22. And the Comcast Government is channel 99.
Okay, very good. And last but not least, I just mentioned boards and committees. To Mr. Kratman's point, you know, we live on that channel, for rightly so, that we're doing, you know, we work for the residents, we're doing our job. But if we could just explore taping so many more boards and committee meetings. And I know it's, you know, you have to allocate resources, but I think it would be pretty cool and pretty neat to just explore how do we capture more of the boards and committees and the volunteers so we can kick back at home and watch it. To Mr. Kratman's point, I know we do a lot of not right now, but I think we can do many more boards and committees, so just kind of food for thought, that's all.
Sure, yeah. I mean, any board that would like to do it, they can just, you know, reach out to us and we can make it happen.
Okay, I'll take the lead there and work with the various chairmen of each board and committee to see if, so I'll work behind the scenes and schedule that. I think they'd like that. And I think the residents would like that as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be in this meeting room. Also, you probably know this, but also the small meeting room is outfitted with cameras as well, too.
Exactly. Gentlemen and Courtney, thank you guys so much.
Great,
Great
thank you.
job.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Montori, who's on deck?
Community Development. Assistant Town Manager Steve Sadwick.
It's 400. It's 400th meeting like this.
Good evening. I think it should be pointed out right up front that there's actually 4 goals for community development, and now explain that in that.
Is that because you're the assistant?
Well, I didn't throw in the assistant stuff, but community development is actually made up of 3 different departments. So to be fair to building department, health department, and then the planning and conservation, I was able to combine all of them under the first goal and then gave each one of them their own separate individual goal. So it really depends on how you look at this. The first goal for the upcoming fiscal year, enhancing efficiency of project department review process for staff applicants and boards. The building department has been operating with a permitting software system that has primarily been done within the department. People have to go to the counter to be serviced. And what we're looking for in the upcoming fiscal year is to implement online permitting. We've been working with the treasurer's office and with our vendor, and this should be up and running very shortly, probably within the next month or 2. So that's what's coming for the building department, and obviously there'll probably be some bugs that we'll have to work out. The health department, they're on software program for permitting. We're running People GIS, and they're about a year or 2 behind the building department, but they're looking to begin training on their software the end of next month, and then they'll be using tablets out in the field to conduct their inspections. And we're looking at a time frame of first and second week in August. And again, there'll be bugs that will have to be worked out of the process with them having those tools out in the field. And then for planning and conservation under this first goal, I think it's no surprise to people that we have a zoning bylaw change that's being proposed for the October town meeting. Should that pass, there's going to be a significant amount of forms and guidance that's going to have to be developed to implement the bylaw. And kind of off to the side, we've had a group of staff from the engineering department, public works, and an outside developer, myself, and Anna McGinty, the town planner, that have been looking and working on updating the subdivision rules and regulations that we plan on taking to the planning board within the next few months. And really, the rules and regulations for subdivision haven't been updated probably comprehensively in well over 30 years. So there's a significant number of things that Kevin Hardiman is bringing to the table, Anna and myself are bringing to the table, that would assist the planning board in implementing the State Subdivision Control Act. Goal number 2, planning conservation goal, would be to implement affordable housing project that was approved at the 2019 annual town meeting. There's a RFP that needs to be developed for that, and most likely that project's going to have to go through a comprehensive permit. So planning and conservation will be assisting putting that RFP together, and then whoever the developer is that it's awarded to will be working with them through the comprehensive permit process. And tied into this is working with the local housing partnership to find additional infill sites. This was something that has been on their affordable housing plan since 2006, talking about infill sites. And the partnership had reminded me at the last meeting that they'd like to take that list up, and we'll start looking at it next week, but obviously that's going to spill into the next fiscal year. The building department, up here I've listed that they are going to review and present findings of building fees compared to other communities. The last time that this was done was 10 years ago, and we did find a variance at that point in time where the town was Tewksbury was kind of lagging surrounding communities when it came to the fees. The selectmen at that time, given where the economy was, decided that they didn't want to implement an increase in those fees. So the building department is interested in looking at where they are today relative to their peer communities, and then we'll be bringing that forward to the selectmen. The selectmen would have to approve those fees if there were any increases. And then lastly, the health department, we have here introducing new state and federal food codes to the food establishments via group training and during individual inspections. There have been some new FDA guidelines regarding that, and we went through a self-assessment this past fiscal year, which was accepted by the FDA coordinator. So we're kind of in line to advance the inspections under the new codes, both federal and state. So that's FY20.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. We'll open up the board. Mr. Kratman.
Thank you for bringing your goals for the next year. I'm very excited that the building department is going to go online, trying to get those things done. I know I sat and talked with you a number of times about some of these things, but it's very frustrating that somebody's coming in to try to get a permit, and they come in and you get the paperwork, and it seems to be you always need something else. And going online, if this is streamlined online, if they're applying for a certain permit, hopefully this database, or whatever it's going to, the program, it's going to work. If you need something for a residential, it should be something that, okay, you need this, this, and this. If it's a big commercial development, yes, you need a number of other things of what you may need. But those are the type of things that going online instead of waiting and dragging those things out, building in this community should be something that's seamless of coming through. It's not, coming through and doing those things. And so you should be commended for doing that. I'm excited about getting that done. I want to help businesses grow. I want to help residents to be able to get the permits they need simplified for what they need to do. If they want to do an add-on to their house, if they want to put a shed on, it shouldn't be something that they have to pull their hair out of their heads to try to get something from the town. So that's great. I like what the health department, the conservation, all these different things they're going through. Like I said, we are going to be changing a lot of bylaws. I think that's something that needs to be looked at, obviously, and we're going to be going through those. But one of the things that, just another question, who maintains the website for the town?
It varies. Every department is responsible for their own website. The main access is through through Jeannie and our department.
Because once we get these things up and running, I think we really need to look at the website to make it clearer of where residents go and how they find these type of things, and just what forms they need and what they don't need, and those type of things for getting these kind of, permits that they need in the community. It should be, we can go online and just click and say, this is what we need. You shouldn't have to search through our website, or it should be simplified. I saw that, the cable had updated their webpage, and they had all the different links on there. We should definitely be doing the same thing with the building, the health, all those type of things. Once we get it online, to simplify it, to be able to do those type of things. But I'm excited. This is something that I think is a long time coming, so thank you for your hard work on that.
Very good. Ms. Stronach?
Thank you. So I think that you were underselling your goals and objectives. And you ran through them pretty quickly with us, and these are a much more lofty and much more of a heavy lift than, and I just want people to understand that the work that it takes to put these four little sentences together is incredible heavy lift for, to say, oh, we're going to put something online, we've been working on that for a while. It's not as easily as clicking a button, as somebody who is not a great IT person, but understands. I did a program the other day trying to do something online, and the trying to get online was difficult. So I hope that we test this with a few residents. Maybe we can bring it down to the senior center and test it with some baby boomers like me to see if we can use it, so for the average resident. So I just want people to know, the zoning bylaws that we're talking about, the state subdivision regulation, the local housing, and to say that, we've been looking at these for 2006 and 10 years. I don't want people to think that we just put these goals on. These are something that we've been striving towards for many years, and they are a work in progress, and that in order to achieve some of these things, it's not just one single department, it is a community effort. So I just want to say I appreciate the goals being put forward. I think that they're lofty. As somebody who's on the local housing, filling the insights and learning about that, because I'm pretty new to that board, and the learning curve on that is steep, and we're going to start looking at those, and the census is going to come out, and we're going to be right behind the 8 ball again. So every time we take a step forward, there's another mechanism in place. So I don't want to give residents the impression that these things have set stagnant for that amount of time, and that the efforts put out by you and the planning department and the planning board and the building department and the health department and the health department board have been stagnant. So I just want to make sure that residents understand that, because doing a self-assessment is no easy task. And looking at building fees, sounds like, oh, that's a pretty simple task. It's not as simple as it sounds, and I just want to say that.
Two things. One, on the building fees, you'll find that different communities use different measures to calculate out their fees, so that becomes a challenge, is how do you get this to an apples-to-apples comparison? And then the bit about the infill sites, I referenced that it's been on since 2006 for the Housing Partnership, but in reality, one of the things that was always kind of holding us back on that was to get a really good handle on town-owned sites. And there was a lot of work that was done with the Open Space and Recreation Committee as they were preparing that plan to go through the town-owned sites, which is kind of now helping feed the Housing Partnership, so that the partnership will have a good understanding of what those sites are and if there are any encumbrances on the sites or things that would prevent potential affordable housing on those sites.
And that's what I mean. I just don't want people to think, oh, we've been ignoring this since 2006. And that this is all going to be completed in 1 year, because I think it's very lofty to, all of these are building blocks, and we looked at some of the others as building blocks. So I want to be realistic about what we're sharing with people. And I applaud the work that went behind these, and I don't want to diminish the work. I just want people to know that these are heavy, heavy lifts, not just for the departments, but for the community in general. And getting building fees that are going to come before us to say, we haven't looked at this in 10 years, we're going to need to be able to, before you come before and say, okay, approve this, there's going to need to be a lot of work so that we can back up what we're approving.
Correct.
Because in essence, fees are looked at as a tax increase. And I don't want people to say, oh, they didn't increase the water taxes, and they didn't do this, and they didn't do that, so now they're going to come after fees. So I just want to make sure that people understand that while these are 4 little sentences on a one big page, it is extremely deep in the depth of the work that needs to go behind each one. So I appreciate the efforts.
Very good. Ms. Jane Miller.
I think I've seen you at 400 of these meetings over the years. There's a lot of experience in your office. One of the things we don't talk about is that the Community Development Office really supports a tremendous amount of boards and night government. And there's a lot of work that goes on with the ZBA and the Conservation and Open Space and Recreation and this, that, and the other Planning Board that your department supports tremendously and executes on the work that needs to be done. So your staff does a tremendous job, you do a tremendous job, and I think you do a great job of presenting the community to the region and to the state at large for the opportunities that we have here. There's some great things here, like everybody said. I had a question for you. How is the, you alluded to it, Mrs. Stronach, briefly, how does the 2020 census start to impact the way you look at your 2021 goals? Because I know that's already on your plate.
Well, I don't have the projections in front of me, but I think when I've looked at the numbers in the past, we will probably be about 100 to 150 units short on the affordable housing inventory. So that, again, we're on the cusp of 10%.
Now.
Right now. The paperwork has been filed with Department of Housing and Community Development. The one thing I need is for the building permit to be issued on a project. That project will get us to 10%. And it's not that the building department is holding it up, it's actually some stuff that we're waiting from the applicant on. So we're on the cusp of 10. 2021 is going to come around, we're going to slide back to probably about 8.5, I think, is where I have us. And then, so the partnership is going to have to be working on how we're going to get back to 10%. And, you know, I point out a lot of times that I think when I started here, almost 18 years ago, we were actually at 4.05%. Right. So we've done a great job here of getting to 10%. We're going to take a little bit of a slide, but I think there will be some planning that will go into the 2021 goals to maintain 10%. Right.
Well, the governor's proposed some changes.
Yes.
Yes. And I think one of the things I've wanted to see, I think everybody has wanted to see, is more affordable senior housing, and that's not going to count toward affordable housing anymore. Is that correct? And when does that change, or did it already change?
It will in some respects, but the state and the federal government too are kind of more focused on family housing, because there's been such a severe crunch on how that's affecting families.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that seniors don't need it, but I think both the state and the federal government have seen this, you know, as a means of getting to your 10% or getting to some affordable goal without taking care of the entire population's needs. So we'll still be able to submit for senior projects. Mm-hmm. But again, if it's seen as a means of trying to get around the family housing issues, then we would struggle getting those units qualified.
Yeah, and when you talk about family housing, are we talking more 3-bedroom units, things like that?
That's generally what it comes down to.
It's a significant issue in the community. I have a number of folks that I know, and I'm not there, but having been divorced, if I sell my house, I still need 3 bedrooms in order to manage my children. So, although sometimes, anyway, it's an issue that we have to really address. So I'm interested in it.
And one last thing too, I think it would be good for the selectmen and for the community to actually see the numbers on school-age children and some of these projects that we've had that have been occupied over the last 2 or 3 years. Again, in my conversations with the school department, even though I haven't made a formal request of the numbers, mm-hmm. but we're not seeing the type of school-age children that were projected to be in these projects as they were being developed, or the belief that they're there.
Right. No, they're not occupying the 2-bedroom. Yeah, I think that's correct. The only other question I wanted to ask was, what is your biggest budget challenge? And, you know, what's the thing that you need the biggest help with? And you can think about that and bring it back.
One of the projects that was tabled, and I don't know if it was on last year's goals or not, but one of the places is we're automating health and building. Yeah. Planning and conservation becomes a challenge, and it's because it's just so document heavy and plan heavy and everything else. So we're still struggling trying to figure out how to do that, whether it's with some type of Dropbox software that we would use, and then how would you integrate that into the town's server and everything else. So that's kind of a challenge, and I don't know if there's a cost there, but it's something that I would like to do, because we get public records requests all the time. I would prefer to just put this stuff online so that people can have access to it.
In the public domain, sure. Okay, that makes sense. And then I know this will come up some other time, or maybe with the DPW, but talking about complete streets and trails and all of that stuff that I've done in the past, I'm interested to see how we move forward with some of those things.
Well, it didn't show up in the goals, but that doesn't mean that we're not working on it.
Well, I know you have many things on your plate.
Yeah,
And this is just some of the highlights. I absolutely get that.
And I have to say that my department has a very good working relationship with the engineering department. And, you know, Kevin and I work very closely on things. So where we can integrate complete streets, mm-hmm. sidewalk construction, connections to trail. We're looking at that from a cross-departmental perspective.
Great. I look forward to working with you as we go forward with NIMCOG. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Brian Dick?
Lot has been discussed. I know Mr. Sadwick in his assistant town manager role, you have a lot there. Not just that, but this too. So I have nothing really to add. And I appreciate Mr. Miller bringing up the affordable housing question. And then I agree with Mrs. Stronach on the amount of things that you have on your plate. I guess the one interested or concern urgency issue is the fees around the building department. I'm going to be interested to see that because it is a revenue stream. And 10 years ago was when the mortgage crisis hit us. So I understand that decision, and that's a smart decision. But now the economy is pretty robust. Are we missing out on some revenue opportunities for the town? So that's when that comes before us, I think that'll be very interesting. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. Short and sweet. I think the zoning bylaw, you're going to come in front of the board and the planning board, a joint meeting, I believe, next week, correct?
Thursday, correct.
Okay, that is some significant heavy lifting involved. And again, another committee, it's the theme of the night committee, so looking forward to that. And the other thing here where you did not, we know we stuck to 3, for you 4 goals. I do want to recognize we've had some significant conversations with the private sector. I know it's a credit to you and Mr. Montori. We always talk about being such a residential town, 80% residential, so I think you're making some very good news on that front and bringing in businesses to help offset that. So maybe at a later meeting, I do believe the Economic Development Committee is going to come forth and highlight all the conversations that we're having with private businesses. So I think that's another worthy accomplishment that's not listed here, but I do want to call it out for the residents because I always say we're not bringing a new business and the right businesses, and I do believe we are. So maybe we'll just food for thought for a later meeting to highlight all the activities you have with the many folks, many different private entities that want to come into Tewksbury. So,
Yep.
And that's all I had. So thank you very much. This is Mr. Steve Sadwick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. And we are saving the best for last. Chief
The one with the gun, right?
Chief Sheen, and Chief Sheen, just before you start, I know you came in a little bit late here, but we did have a moment of silence for Mr. Matt Small. So you all have heavy hearts for you, and I know it's been a tremendous last 10 days or so. So just goes out condolences, obviously, to the family and to yourself. I know as a 22-year veteran to the force, so we're all sorry for that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I was told when I came in that that you had done that and that you had highlighted the fact that the family could use some assistance and that there was a GoFundMe page that was put up that is accessible for the department's social media account. So, and it's going really good with respect to that. And we're still processing. Obviously, this is a loss that's going to take us, a long time to process. Obviously, because he did so many things for the department and worked so closely with all of the members of the department that. Which is actually a good segue into some of the stuff that we'll be doing tonight, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to, come right out and say that I guess I'm a seenager. I didn't know that until tonight, evidently, and Diane's, so much younger. She's 1 year outside the perimeter and gets to call herself something different, I guess, than a boomer or a teenager. She's a Generation X.
That's me too.
Which I guess there's a very big difference tonight anyways, right, with respect to that. The other thing I wanted to say was Bob McGinnis is here. He just told me that he has my back. So I know I'm good because he, not only, Mr. Chairman, you are one of our most recent graduates of the Citizens Police Academy. He is a graduate from our original Citizens Police Academy and a 3-time graduate of the Citizen Police Academy. So he has my back. He told me tonight he's
Outstanding.
going to be here and he's going to make sure that I have the support that I need. So I appreciate that a tremendous amount. So with respect to tonight and the goals that are up here, I just, as I had shot a quick email to the manager earlier, I just wanted to real quickly, just without getting into as much detail, just talk to you a little bit about our fiscal year 19 goals that we had come before you with last year, which were obviously to improve school safety and security. We have come miles. I believe that we have probably the most robust school safety strategy in state of Massachusetts, if not in this part of the country, and if not in the country itself. But we've added to that, and every year we do. You know what I mean? With the generosity of this board, with the forward thinking of the town government and the school department, and with the assistance and the guidance from the police department, we were able to incorporate Stop the Bleed, which is a new concept, along with our ALICE drills, bleeding control, district-wide, as far as with the school, actually town-wide. We were actually the first town in the whole entire state to go, town-wide for a Stop the Bleed policy, and we've given all of the town employees that training. We've gotten 4 of the 7 schools so far, and also pressed that out to the, I know you got that at the Citizens Police Academy, but done a lot of work with the businesses and citizens in the community and everything else, and run classes at businesses and everything else to try to push that across. But our school safety strategy, obviously, this year I came before the town manager. I was looking to add a couple of additional school resource officers. We're also looking for funding streams, so that with respect to federal funding, the COPS grant that never came to fruition as of yet. With respect to that, some grant funding came available, and I think was accessed through the school to harden some of the facilities, and that was as a result of our collaboration with them, with obviously trained officers on my department that did site assessments at all of our schools, that also took it farther, did site assessments at all of our buildings, did site assessments at all of our churches, and any businesses that wanted the same thing. So we did really significantly enhance our relationships with the school, our school safety strategy by adding means like Social Sentinel, by having the Stop the Bleed concept, and that will continue to grow. The next thing that we were doing was looking to strengthen the town's active shooter vulnerability preparedness. And again, every single town employee that I'm aware of received the Avoid, Deny, Defend training. We've also pushed that out to about another 500 community members and businesses in the town. We've done Wamisit, Lowell 5, all of the churches, and run individual classes at some of the other businesses as well to get that training out to them. So, as a department, we've really pushed ourselves out. We've done Stop the Bleed with our community as well to try to get those concepts out, and try to assist not only our town in the preparedness stage, but build our relationships and trust and transparency with the community. And the last goal for fiscal year 19 was to create a drone unit, which, through the generosity of the town, from I can see you smiling, Selectmen Stronach, and with the generosity of the town and some of the drug forfeiture funds in a solid accredited policy, we were able to get that underway. We now have an FAA pilot. We have a few members of a few member offices and support, and an administrator on that unit. We've been using that unit to help with the drug unit for surveillance. We've been using it for all of our community events. We've been getting it out there for searches for missing people and everything else, and it's really worked out significantly for us. As a matter of fact, because I believe we set the trend for the area, other communities have now come to us. We've actually helped the city of Lawrence, a few other communities that have wanted to get up and going with drone units. So I think we're looked to as a leader in the area for police drone programs at this point. All done, obviously, through accredited policies, without citizen intrusion, and making sure that we take good care and use that only for law enforcement purposes as well. So that kind of wraps up the fiscal year 19 goals. I think we did a really fine job of trying to get to all of those goals and work our way through those. And it all relates back to the relationships that we've established in this town with every other town department, the support that we're getting from the board, the support that we're getting from the town manager, and we wouldn't be able to accomplish anything without any of that. Leading us into this year's goals, strengthening the peer support and officer wellness program. A couple of years ago, one of my goals was to get a peer support program going. We circulated some information throughout with the department, had a couple of interested individuals, 3, one at the lieutenant level, one at the sergeant, one at the patrolman. Got them through some training to get them some peer support certifications, one of which the lieutenant was just too busy in his role as a detective lieutenant to actually do the work associated with peer support. Coming to find out now that undertaking was enormous. The need is enormous. Our peer support sergeant that runs the unit is overwhelmed with the work, bearing in mind that obviously we wear protective equipment on our bodies to protect, ballistic vests to make sure that nobody gets shot, bearing in mind that we need to take care of the inner souls and spirits of individuals that wear this uniform, and that they are human as well. And with the emotional roller coaster of police work, there's a lot of highs and lows. There's a lot of things that they see that others won't see. There's other things that they take home. They're also human. They go through divorces. They have child custody battles. They have financial issues. They have substance use issues, and all of the things that every human being does. We really need to strengthen that. So I have had 3 other officers volunteer. We are in the process of scheduling them into early next fiscal year to getting that training, enhancing that unit. We are supporting them with, with whatever they have for needs. When we started this endeavor, there was a collaborative team, the Greater Boston Critical Incident Stress Management Team, that our sergeant became a part of, but he had so much work in our own department, he wasn't able to actually participate in that. So we'd like to, to make sure that we are able to get some of our peer support unit into a collaborative team. Now, in that time frame, the NEMLEC organization has formed its own critical incident stress management team. As a matter of fact, they responded the day after Matt Small's death and set up in the department with our peer support unit from morning until night to make sure that all of our employees felt supported. And they have a debriefing scheduled, which should be about a week and a half after the death, to make sure that they check back in with everybody and make sure that the people that that had some concern and wanted to come in and see him and whatnot had all of what they need for support. So really big, important part of what we do. Looking to really enhance that if I can, just get more involved with taking care of the officers that work for us. We do a really good job, or at least I believe that we do, based on the numbers and the participation in this town, with helping people that have mental health and substance use issues throughout this town, with our own mental health clinician, with our recovery coaches, with our officers that are assigned, with our prevention specialist. And we just have to make sure we take care of the individuals that are seeing all of this, that are dealing with all of this, that are experiencing those highs and lows, that wear this uniform, and very important to me. So our mission this year would be to add 3 more people to that unit, to make sure they have the skills and the tools and the training that they need, to make sure our supervisors also receive some training, to make sure that they are seeing signs and symptoms and recognizing this and really trying to help out with respect to that. And really try to reduce the stigma, because in our world, honestly, when you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness, right? So we got to reduce that stigma, as we have with substance use disorder and mental health, trying to, shrink that stigma so that people will actually come forward and get the help that they need, and maybe go on to being productive members of society and not be seen by law enforcement and not be in jail or in the hospital. So, that follows through to our own offices, because, they need assistance too, and we got to make sure that we're looking out for them. So, really big part of what my goal for this year is to really work and strengthen that program, and really get, the last thing that we need to do is really get activities out there, yoga, activities, hiking, walking, things that are not associated with substance use or anything like that, and get our guys actively involved in that. They don't tend to do those things with others, but they tend to do that stuff, together. So, in talking with my sergeant from the peer support unit, he thinks that I have found an avenue through the Lowell opioid, the Middlesex County opioid task force that I belong to. I have a nurse that does yoga classes for public safety, and actually our peer support sergeant thinks that'll go over really well at the station. And we're going to look to collaborate with them and see what we can do about also bringing some wellness exercises, getting people to get some of the stress off of them so that they can continue to do the good work that they're doing here. The next thing is strengthen and formalize our employee recognition program. One of the things that that we're working through is accreditation right now, and we're doing really good with that with respect to that. But we do want a policy on officer recognition, on how they go about recognizing, formalize the process. We have incredibly nice, as I think everybody in this room has seen, dress uniforms also, because of the generosity of the town manager and the board that we sit before us. And guys are really proud to put that uniform on and attend events where they wear that. I also want them to have the proper hardware and the recognition medals and everything else that they deserve based on their accomplishments, their life-saving measures, the specialty units that they belong to, their service in the military and everything else, so that they can feel really good about the stuff that they wear in the uniform. So we've gotten a couple of sample policies policies, want to put some things in place this year and try to dress those uniforms up with the accomplishments from the individuals that are involved with respect to that. Some of the other things that we're doing is, now we have it's every supervisor's meeting, we meet bi-monthly, I have all of the supervisors, and I really strongly encourage our supervisors to run their shifts and their specialty units like families, and to treat their guys, respectfully at all times, but also recognize them in front of their peers, right? Because, that's what you want to do. You want, obviously you want to speak to somebody, about incidents that, may not, like a disciplinary matter in private, but you want to recognize them in front of their peers, because even though they may say that they don't want that, that's really a good thing for them. So we do informal recognitions at roll calls and stuff when there's good work being done. And I encourage the supervisors to write formal commendation letters, because every single year the MPTC comes knocking on our door looking for recommendations for people that have saved people's lives so that they can give them awards. Just recently, one of our female officers that happens to be related to me received an award at the Mass Association of Women in Law Enforcement, recognition on her performance. That she was nominated by one of her sergeants that works with on the 12th day shift. We get all of these special awards that come in, and we look for recommendations from our supervisors. Because they're not formally documenting things, they forget over the course of the year all the good work that's been done, because it's not formalized and documented so that they can recommend these people for these awards. So we're nagging on them all the time, myself and the deputy chief, to try to get them to formalize the process, send something up to us. Although we've given you the autonomy to recognize them in roll call and buy coffee and really celebrate the work that they do. We really want to formalize that and get more accounting so that we can satisfy some of these. The other thing that a long time ago, I've been on this job now 32 years, and a long time ago we used to do policemen's balls or awards nights. And we got away from that because there was a low participation level from the department. There was really hardly anybody showing up for these things, right? But we have a really hard-working, highly driven, motivated department that's been doing an incredible amount of work in every single attribute of policing and social services, and it's time to bring that back. It's time to get these guys out there with their dress coats on and recognize their accomplishments, to put together an awards committee for that contains people at every rank and every level, civilian and sworn in the department, and involve town government, involve the Board of Selectmen, and really turn this into something big for these offices, because it's something that's really important. And I think that we have the climate now for it. We've climbed out of our financial difficult years. Not that there won't be years in front of us, but we also have a very cohesive police department, a young, active police department, and now's the time to get that going again. Again, just to make sure that we involve the selectmen, because I know you guys do a very good job when things are brought to your attention, to bringing people before you and giving them certificates and stuff like that, but that kind of stuff is really important, and they need to know that, the good work that they're doing is something that people are recognizing. So, and the last of which my goals really is, obviously, we're in transition this year. February or March of next year, we're looking to go into the Northern Middlesex Regional Communications Center, a new communication center that's being built in our community. I've personally, for 7 years, sat on the committee to try to make this thing happen. It looked like it was going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. There was 9 communities, then there was 6, and then there was 4. And we're about to embark on a new center opening with at least Drake at this some interest from another community right now. But it's a big undertaking. Obviously, we have, I am right now the manager of the current communications center, the fiduciary and manager, both fiduciary and personnel manager of the current center. So it's on me. I'm looking at it like it's on me to make that transition and to make sure that that the townspeople and our business owners and everything don't miss a beat, that we're actually going to provide at least a better level of service than what we're providing now, the moment in time that we got over into the new center. So I'll work with the town manager and the contractors and the town's project manager and everybody else to make sure that the construction end goes well. But the big thing is the transition. Really, it's getting input. Right now, we're in phase number 1, where we're going to hire our executive director. We've gotten 3 resumes in now. We reviewed 2. Teresa's going to get us the 3rd. We're gonna go through that stuff, and the fire chiefs and the police chiefs have been taxied with interviewing those individuals. We're going to interview those individuals and it's very important at this particular stage that we get that person up stood up right now and running, because now is a critical time. Not only is construction ongoing, but now we have to really starting to seriously think about the software and the employees that are going to fill that, and working with the employees and getting some input on, you know, some of the interior stuff that hasn't really been decided yet. And also, you know, our own employees need to know that they have secure employment. So we need an executive director to make that happen, right? So we need that individual there, although we can tell our employees that they're great dispatchers and that, you know, that there would be no reason that anybody, you know, that is working for us now, because we are going to be seeking more individuals than what is currently full-time employed by both Dracut and Tewksbury. We will need 16.5 employees. Right now, Dracut has 4 full-timers and we have 9, we have 13. So we're going to need those employees, and we're going to need others. And we're going to make some of our employees supervisors that aren't currently supervisors, right? And they're going to have more responsibility, and someone's going to be responsible for training, and they're going to have a lot, and they're going to have a beautiful facility that they can call their own, and you know, they're going to make that their own home and have pride in that, and not sit second fiddle to the patrol division that they happen to be sitting with right now in the current building. So it's on us to make sure that all of that happens, and to make sure that we do a really good job of getting that center open, getting that center to be what it is that we promised the townspeople it would be, you know, something that would provide, you know, that they would get better service out of, and that something that our employees will be proud to go to work in every day, and something that will grow in time. We're hoping to also grow that facility and get at least one like-sized community like Dracut and us into that. So that's pretty much our 3 goals and what we've accomplished in the last year, and I'm certainly willing to talk about any of these matters with anybody that has questions.
Very good. Let's open up to the board. Ms. Miller?
Thank you so much, Chief, and thank you for all the work that you and your staff do, all of the police officers, the dispatchers, and the administrative staff. And once again, I'm very sorry for the loss of Mr. Small. You and your staff do so much to protect the entire community, and you see us in sometimes our most vulnerable moments in our lives, the nature of the work that you do. And so I'm really impressed and glad to see these goals that really address the esprit de corps and the mental health and the recognition of your staff. I think it's tremendous. You speak very candidly and in a very moving way about the need to address these, and I think it's compelling, and I support everything you have here. And I look forward to, I don't have any questions. You have a very complete presentation, but as we go forward, I'm sure I will, and I'll ask you those things later. But I'm very excited for the Regional Communication Center. There's a lot of challenges with the transition and aligning collective bargaining agreements and software and all the little things and the big things that go along with that. And I can't think of any more capable hands for it to be in. So thank you very much.
Very good. Mr. Brian Dick?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Chief Sheehan, for coming tonight. It's always, it's great to hear you talk. It's great, as Mrs. Miller said, you're very genuine as a person, and I appreciate the things that you brought ahead for 2020 goals. I think that's pretty impressive goals. Outside of the goals, I had two questions. One, the police station space. Just what's your comment on that? I guess space-wise, it's probably, you know, I just wanted to see what you think of it, the need there. And with the Regional Communication Center, does that free up space for you?
Yeah, so I mean, the police station right now is very cozy. You know, to put it candidly, I guess, every single office is taken, and every single office is thriving, and it isn't a part-time office. It's somebody that's in it all the time and doing some really great work. A lot of those are our civilian employees. I mean, the whole upstairs is our community service unit. It's, you know, it's our community service officer, our family service officer, our prevention specialist, our recovery coach, our full-time mental health clinician, you know, our administrative lieutenant, and then you get into the criminal bureau, and we had to actually, we used, you know, drug forfeiture funds and actually added a cubicle in there, because there's 8 cubicles in there, a detective sergeant and a detective lieutenant's office, and a evidence / sexual assault unit office, officer's office. And we, you know, we added a 3rd person to the drug unit because obviously it's such a significant problem here in this community. We had to actually take out some shelving in the corner and actually put a cubicle in there. It actually fits right nicely. And Detective Sullivan, Caitlin Sullivan, she had her choice and moved from one, they all had the choice based on their seniority to move, and she selected that new office space, and she really loves it. But, so we are bulging at the seams, but with the Regional Communication Center, that large chunk of area, our records division has grown significantly too, as far as obviously the size of the department and the work that we're doing. So, we haven't had discussions on it yet, but I envision that being a nice space for the records division out front, because then people that, it's good for our citizens too, because when they come in, they don't have to go all the way over to the left where it says records. They'll actually be right there out front, And we might be able to do something like moving the drug unit downstairs into the current records division space to free up some space for future growth, because we do continue to grow. And, our school resource officers don't have an office. Their offices are in their schools, right? And I'm hoping that at some point we'll be able to make sure that we have a school resource officer in every school, or someone that can touch every single school. So that's why my priorities this year were revolving around, because all the school violence that's present in the gains that we have by having offices there with our SRO Pratt and SRO Riser. It's going to be great. And the fact that the schools are now, they're collaborating, so they're putting, a couple of schools together. That's actually going to be helpful too, because then if we can get an officer into those schools, it doesn't require so many offices, right? So that's why as we move a couple of schools into one, and then maybe I think that's going to happen again sometime down the road, I'd envision, based on the age of the schools that we have and the need we have in this community, we could get somebody in every single school, and so I guess in time, I don't think when we built the station we envisioned all the work that we're doing at the station now and all the bodies that we have there on grants and everything else, but we're going to grow, because the mental health clinician we have now, we've applied for a second full-time clinician, because we are the #1 referral jail diversion program in the state. We have 1,500 referrals so far this year between us, Drake, Chelmsford, and Borica, and the closest JDP program is Barnstable with 1,000. So, and 513 of those referrals since January, where we've interacted with those suffering from mental health or substance use disorder, have come from Tewksbury alone. A third or so of the, so the great work that's being done, we need more help. So we are looking for another full-time clinician that will be housed in another one of the 4 police stations. But still, I can just envision as time rolls on, we'll have some more needs. But I mean, I love our facility. We've done a really good job of keeping it up, and we take a lot of pride in the facility. And I think, this will help us with a little bit of growth, for the future as well, because right now we are kind of bulging at the seams. So. Not complaining, though. It's a beautiful facility.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful that the
want to
town
put
has
you on the
given
spot
us
of that. I'm just curious to see where we're at. So I don't know if that's on our long-range plan for go up, right?
We get one of those 3-story fire poles in the fire department.
Well, the last thing, and just a quick response, I guess the opioid epidemic or whatever. What do you see Tewksbury? What do you think about Tewksbury in that area? I mean, I know there's a lot of different terms you could use for that epidemic, but I guess not just Tewksbury, but the Merrimack Valley. And where do you think that's going right now?
Well, it's going in a positive direction, I can tell you that. I have intimate knowledge that revolves around that. I'm the law enforcement representative in Low District Court Drug Court. I'm on the Middlesex County Opioid Task Force. I'm on the Mass Chiefs of Police Substance Abuse Committee. I can tell you that the Middlesex County is the hardest hit county in the whole entire state for the opioid crisis. It is, and it revolves an awful lot around, the largest source city for narcotics is the city of Lawrence, which is just to the north of us. And in the Middlesex County, the most suffering city is the city of Lowell, which touches us on one border. And we house, obviously, a lot of hotels and motels and big box stores and stuff where a lot of transactions happen, and we see a lot of overdoses. So Tewksbury has a high concentration. I can tell you, though, that prior to the 2018, we were having 100 overdoses a year and an average of 13 to 16 deaths a year. In 2018, we had 67 overdoses and 7 deaths. So we cut the overdoses way down, and the number of deaths is way down, and I think that's attributed to not only the fact that more people are carrying the opioid overdose reversal drug, Narcan, but the work that our community service unit is engaging with every person that we come in contact with that has some substance use issue, whether it's alcohol or opioids or whatever, and they are getting these people. 29% of people are going to inpatient level of care programming or something along the lines. On our mental health side, 70% of the people that we touch, and we average of about 200 involuntary hospitalizations a year that are done by our department, 70% are going inpatient level of care. That is all because of the work that the community service unit is doing, and because of the relationships that we've built in this community with our treatment providers, with our community, with the hospitals, and some of the forms that we've put together. I mean, it is magic that is happening over there right now, and I'm telling you, it is the key. We got to focus a little bit more attention on our enforcement, and we have. We've added somebody to the drug unit. They are the most looked up to drug unit in the state. The city of Lowell had called and asked what schedule our drug guys were on because they wanted to put their drug guys on our schedule. The town of Barica put their guys on our drug schedule. People are sending their officers to our department to train them to be drug guys.
Wow.
They're doing such great work because they're out there working hard, making over 100 distribution and trafficking arrests a year, which I share with all of you. I know I'm talking a lot, and I know I'm filled with pride. It's like Tewksbury pride. I know me and you have something in common, you know, from earlier days. I am swelling with pride at the work that's being done by the individuals that work for us. And you know what? There was a vision. That vision was put into place by the hardest working individuals that we have. So, I mean, I don't take credit for all of that. I might have thought of this is the direction that we need to travel in. I got some serious contenders over there that are passionate about providing the best service to the people. My drug unit is not only arresting people, but they're getting people into treatment. And they're going to people's houses and making sure that they're okay. And you know, it's just magic over there right now. And I think we're onto something. I think a lot of people, I mean, we're going to make a presentation next week at the Mental Health Conference at Fitchburg State College. We are recognized as a mentor, guiding light, and we're leaders in the state of Massachusetts for our substance use work and our mental health work. And it's all because of the work that's the passionate work 24/7 that's being done by all of my offices, even at the patrol level. The patrol level offices are handing out resource cards, connecting people with treatment, calling them back, going back to their houses. They care. I mean, we are firing off on all cylinders, I'd like to say, you know, to put it in perspective. And none of this, not a drop of this, would be possible if we didn't have the support from the town manager and from you, and to allow us to find a way to do the best that we can for the people that we serve. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that was a little off your goals, but we don't get a lot
You don't
of...
want me talking about substance use stuff. And
I said, yeah, we came in a little early. We got to be careful here.
Chief Sheehan might have had trouble with that 200 words or less on the college
That's why
applicant.
they put me last.
No, thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Stronach.
All I'm going to say is I'm going to use your word from an earlier presentation, but wow. I too am swelling with pride for the work that you all do and the communication and your leadership in terms of that. We see that every day in our inbox. So I appreciate that because that helps me address residents' concerns. I have two things for you. I was smiling about the drone because when you came before us and asked us for the drone, I think that you and I swapped a few passionate words about the drone in terms of people think that these are toys, and to take that type of piece of equipment or tool in your toolbox and maximize it to the advantages that you have speaks volumes. This isn't about just getting something for the sake of saying, I have this in my department, and I just want to applaud that. So that drone smile was one of pride as well, because I do know that the policy that you put forward has been emulated by several communities in the area. So I want to thank you for that.
Can I just interrupt for one quick second on that? I have to give a little bit of credit to the district attorney, Marion Ryan, because she called me, there was a quadruple homicide in Groton, I don't know if you remember, back a couple of years ago, and she called me up from the scene, and she's like, you have everything, so I'm assuming you have a drone.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that you could fly a drone over here? Because the scene is so spread out, the crime scene, we really need to map it, and I just figured, because you're my go-to guy, she says, with all of the modern technology, you must have a drone. And I didn't have one at that particular time, so it's like, next time you call, we'll have, so.
So I remember that story, and so, yes. The work that you're doing around the COPS grant, and I know that how competitive those are, and the work around the school safety, I mean, that's critical on everybody's mind. I know that you're working with the building committee already for the new building to talk about those things so that we're equipped, and putting in the upgrades to the capital improvements that are being done. I mean, that's our most vulnerable population. Next to our seniors is our student population, so I appreciate those efforts. The fact that you are recognizing in order to do a good job, and I think that this was a theme tonight. I don't know if it's talked about at department head meetings, but you all seem to be focused on our valuable staff, which is one of the most tremendous resources that we have in this town. When we look at our budget, the majority of our budget in every single department is to staff, and to see those dollars being looked at in terms of making sure that people are being taken care of so that they can be efficient, I applaud, along with those comments to other people. The one thing that I have to say, you mentioned you've been in this job for 32 years. And I bet when you started this job, you never would have thought that you would have ended up being such a community individual service provider. I'm sure that wasn't the goal you had in mind, or the thing that you would be spending your majority of your time in, realizing that that's the silver bullet to the current problem, which is just overwhelming and hits every single population. There is nobody who is immune from the horrible hold that addiction can have on an individual. And to address that in a way that is compassionate, realizing that that has to be measured with punitive consequences, I applaud you and your staff for doing that. So I can't say anything more. I think my colleagues have spoke to it, but your passion in the work of your entire department speaks for itself. So thank you.
Just two quick comments on that, because it's very important. You did bring up something that's very important for everybody in the community to know, and obviously we take this time to make sure that we can educate the community. This new school that's being built, and I know a lot of work has been done by the individuals that sit in front of me, much more than the work, the work that we've contributed to that, will be the safest school in Massachusetts, based on them allowing us into the process at the early stages. And we had some disagreements along the way, because there had to be some changes made, and we had to make sure that there was entryways between classes and exterior exits and things that are all recommended security measures to make sure that our most vulnerable population, as you had indicated, are well taken care of. And it accommodates all of the training that we've given them with the ALICE program, and give them the best chance to survive an incredibly tragic matter that we hope never will happen in this community. I can tell you, based on the town manager's leadership and guidance in this, and the participation from the team that was put together from my department on this, this will be inevitably a model school that now other districts will look to, because it is going to be the safest school in the state of Massachusetts. No ands and buts about it. Very important that townspeople know that, because I know there's an expense that's associated with this, but people want to know if their money's well spent. Well, it will be well spent on this, and their kids will be safe. That's for sure. And then the second piece that I just wanted to tell you was, which we just figured out since probably 2014 to now, but we've done a great job with community events and everything else, but it takes a village relative to this substance use and mental health issue. We really need the assistance of, we really had to accomplish anything, collaborate with our community, with our providers, with our government, with our other departments, heads in the department, to get anything accomplished. It was so imperative that we sorted that out and figured out that this is what we do, our mission at the police department is obviously reduce crime and the fear associated with it, and improve the quality of life through the best police practices available, right? What is more important when you talk about quality of life issues than the mental health and wellness of the community that we're here in? Our arrests are large. There are 1,000 arrests a year. We have 51,000 incidents a year, and our guys do a lot of great work. But we are legitimately in a position now where we're starting to see people that are super utilizers that are regularly on our call logs, whether it's calls for service, ambulance runs, arrests, everything. They're coming off those call logs. We're not seeing them repetitively now because we've tied in what's most important, a solution to that. Instead of just re-seeing them over and over again, now we're treating them, getting the help they need, and now we're not seeing them on the call logs no more. So it makes perfect sense when you think about it, to collaborate and get the best that you can, and to try to reduce recidivism, which is our job, right? So that's what we're doing, and again, none of this wouldn't be possible without your support and a heck of a lot of good, hard work that's being done at the level that I'm lucky enough to lead, so.
Very good. Mr. Kratman?
Well, my peers have covered a lot of it, but first off, Chief, I want to say thank you. I don't think enough people in this community say thank you to our police officers for what they do in our community. The stress and the things that you see on a day-to-day basis of keeping us safe is incredible. So this wellness program, I can't support it enough. We have to take care of the people that are taking care of us. And this is, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, we need to make sure that our police officers are allowed to go home and be regular people after their day shift is done. And we need to have these type of programs. If they see things that not every day that people shouldn't have to see, they deal with illnesses, sicknesses, accidents, all the type of things. God forbid we'll have a murder or something like that happens. It's like they every day they wake up and they put their lives on the line for us to go out there. And I take that very seriously when I see these type of things of what you need and what you want. You can't ask enough, because once again, you are protecting our families. And in part, we are all a family in this community. One thing I take very pride in about walking around this community is that I tell everybody we have the best police department anywhere in this state. I can walk up to a police officer anytime in the things. I walk with my kids. I'll go around. I'll see the people. And even with the day-to-day stress that they do, I know it starts at the top, because they just, hi, how are you? How's your day going? Interact with people. I see them all the time. I saw somebody down the other end of town the other day who looked like it was a homeless person, having a rough time going through, when I saw one of your police officers walk over with a cup of coffee and bring them over to the person. Not give them a hard time, not saying, you got to move along, you got to do this. Reach to that person and try to say, what can I do to help? And I see it all the time. And the things that happen, you cannot be commended enough for what happens in this community. Good luck trying to put this other program of employee recognition, because there's going to be a lot of people bending over backwards wearing those medals, because what you do in this community. I know your offices, I see them quite a bit, and just off the top of my head, I can think of, where would you put all these things on these people of what they do? They give their heart and soul to this community. They're at every event. They show up. I mean, it's just, the things they do, it starts on the top, and you should be commended for making this a family and a community what it is. It's something that we should all take pride in, but your officers are nothing but the best in this community. They deserve the best we can give them, and whatever you need from us, I have no problem listening to that. I want to make sure they go home safe the same way you make us go home safe. So with all your goals and strengths and things like that, I commend you, but those are the things that the wellness thing, I think, is something we really need to focus on, and I want to make sure they live happy lives as well. So thank you.
Very good. All right, I'll just close. I mean, there's been a lot said here from my colleagues. I'll just say, Chief, it's been a hallmark of this community about safety, and there is no doubt that you guys are the most progressive and proactive police department in the Commonwealth, and I'll even go a step further and say across the country, because I know you're actually getting your hands involved, as you said, being a mentor to the opioid crisis. And I let you talk, but we do. I mean that in a good way. We came early, but all kidding aside, it's just incredible work what you guys do on a day-to-day basis at every level, And a lot of times residents call us and say, there's been another arrest, another drug arrest. But to your point, I mean, if you look at Lawrence across the entire country, it's incredible what's going on in Lawrence, and we're caught in the middle. So we are going to see that. It's a credit not only to the drug unit, but to every level within your in the department to make those arrests on it seems like on a daily basis. And as soon as you catch a bad guy, we know another one's going to come our way. So I thank you for that work. And I mean, that's why we have a lot of arrests, is because we're in that beltway or gateway, if you would. And you know, that's just where we live and how we're positioned to Lawrence. So you know, it's incredible the work you do. And to Anne Marie's point, Ms. Stronach's point, it's incredible how many arrests we do make on a weekly basis. So.
Yeah, and just to add to that, just some good news, just some good solid news is our guys are so entrenched in, you know, and they have confidential informants and they make drug purchases and stuff and arrest people in the community. It's very difficult these days to get the drug dealers to come to Tewksbury because we've developed a reputation where if you come here, you're going to get caught and you're going to get held accountable. And that's all on the backs of the work that's being done by the individuals that work under me. So another good thing happening with that is, you know, and we've developed our own policies that revolve around trying to take care of our businesses that are retail outlets. We arrest those individuals that are shoplifting. We don't just no trespass them. We don't criminal complaint them and they answer to that offense 6, 10, 9 months later. We arrest. Because if they're inconvenienced, at the very least, they are not going to return to Tewksbury to steal. Because ultimately, I'd like to take care of the entire state, but my job is to take care of Tewksbury, the Tewksbury business owners, the Tewksbury people that live in this community. And what better of a job are we doing if we're not supporting our businesses that are keeping all of our citizens working and everything else? So some of the policies that we have, they're really actually, of the 140 shoplifting arrests that we made last year, nobody's a repeat offender. What does that tell you? When they come here and they get arrested, they're not going to come back here and shoplift again because maybe they can go to someplace else where they'll be criminal complainted and they won't be held accountable in that moment in time for stealing $1,200 worth of stuff from Walmart or just walking out with $500 worth of tools from the Home Depot. You know, so just some of the things that we're doing that are actually working, you can see because that's statistical facts that you can prove.
Okay, very good. I'll just close with this. I was very fortunate to attend the Citizen Police Academy. There was actually 25 to 30 folks there, and my goodness, I do have family in law enforcement, and even to go through that academy with your folks, through Officer Welch, the sergeants, the detectives, lieutenants, dispatch, even K-9 and the drug units, and even yourself for a very short time, my goodness, what I learned through what your department does, and to your point, it all ties back to the original bullet of wellness. It's incredible what they do. Every single class, the hair on the back of my neck stood up for what you guys do, and I always thought that I was a good shot. I always called myself Clint Eastwood, and when I did that simulating shooting, man, did I stink. But it just gives you another perspective. Is like, holy mackerel, how real and how hard that job is. So what an incredible program. Again, it was and I'm really going to tout that program next year. It was so eye-opening at every level, so I thank you. And like I said, I know Officer Welch does so much and so many other folks, but man, she does an incredible job, so please give her, you know, huge kudos to Officer Welch. There's nothing in the town that she does not do, and she's awesome.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Appreciate your
Thank you,
support.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Were we usually enough on them? You don't have to come after us?
Funny guys.
Good job. Thank you.
All right, very
Get his
good.
muscle with him.
Hi, guys. All right. That brings us to the section of residents. Seeing there's no public comments, we're going to move along to new business, boards and committees. All right, short and sweet here, just for the residents as far as boards and committees. Number one, we have reappointed all the members of the various boards and committees that wanted to be reappointed. And Friday was the last day to submit applications, so we've got all the applications. I believe we have 25 to 26 applications to fill the vacancies across the different boards and committees, and there's not a lot. And so the next step would be to interview and appoint, and I'm going to ask the board in the month of June, we're going to be slightly aggressive here, to meet, and probably 2 different nights, we'll do whatever it is, 12 and whatever the number is. We'll do interviews and interviews back-to-back nights, and then we'll make our appointments, so that come June 30th, we can hit the ground running with every single board and every board and committee in the town with no vacancies, and that's pretty good. So we're well ahead of the game. So that's really the only update that I want to give around boards and committees as far as appointments. And I know the month of June is going to be very tough to meet, but even if we have a quorum, we have to meet and do the interviews like we always do. So that's all I wanted to share. Any questions or comments around the board or committees?
Mr. Chairman, if the board wants to send me dates in June that work, we can start coordinating a meeting from the office and set up interviews.
I figure we'll do 2 nights. We'll agree offline on for particular dates. I know we have another upcoming meeting, but we have to get it done, and this will be pretty cool that we'll get in good shape coming June 30th, where it's kind of the fresh start for each board and committee.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say that the Tewksbury Events Committee, they are going to potentially need an additional member. We have the need for somebody who can run sound systems and things like that, and we are taxing people to do that. So as we interview, if we could add that to our list. I know that we would have to agree to a point, but I just want to put it out there that we're in great need of somebody, even a volunteer, to do sound systems for our events. Mostly looking at Fall Festival.
And what's the committee? I'm sorry?
The Public Events Committee.
And how many do you currently have, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, I like to put the pedal to metal. If you feel like we need a recommendation and want to make a motion.
I would love to make the recommendation to add another member to the Public Events Committee.
An opening, you mean?
Yes.
We have a
Second.
motion. I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. See
Thank
how
you.
easy that was?
That was fantastic.
All right, very good. Any other questions around boards and/or committees? All right, seeing none, it's going to bring us to new business. I do have one, I want to bring up one topic, but I'm going to look across the board. Any new business for the board? This is going to be ironic. I'm going to bring up new business, but it's old business. In regards to Route 38, I brought it to Mr. Montori's. We talked to Mr. Montori. As a matter of fact, I talked with Mr. David Robinson this weekend, and the only thing is we're receiving a lot of complaints. I think collectively we're receiving a lot of complaints. If you drive right outside the town hall here and right up to the Home Depot, I mean, the road is, I have to be careful for my language here, but the road is just terrible. And I know we were doing a lot of the water work and as well as gas lines, and it's a temporary patch until we actually, we're going to do some serious work here, but it's not for another 12 to 24 months. So, Mr. Montori, I don't know what action we can take, because I know it would be a quote-unquote a patch job on top of a patch job, but I would just ask through the town manager, see what we can do to better our roads a little bit, because it's really, they're really tough right now.
Yeah, so I spoke to the Director of Public Works today. We're going to go out and drive the roads, see where the worst spots are, see what areas are the responsibility of the contractor who did the water work for us, to determine if they need to go back in and do any work. The gas company is out there. They have marked up pretty much the same area we did the water work. They've cut some of the road already to do work, so we'll need to wait till they're done. But if the contractor's fulfilled his obligations under the contract, and once the utility is done and they've patched the road properly, we may have to just look at expending some town funds to get in there and get the road in a condition where it's going to last until the state comes in and does some work. But we're going to look at all avenues. We agree it's in terrible condition, but everyone's in a rush to get the work done before the state comes in and does their big reconstruction project.
Fair enough. My only recommendation is do not drive with a hot cup of coffee when you're actually surveying 38. So.
Or mascara.
Or mascara, thank
You
you.
should do that anyway.
Just one other, there's one other road that we get complaints on, and that's on Andover Road coming from Lowell into town. And we're also waiting for a state project to begin up at the intersection of River Road and Andover Road to properly do that road reconstruction. In August, our paving contractor, who will be out at the end of June and July, is scheduled to do a repair of that road, a thin overlay to keep that road in good condition until the state project is undertaken. We've done that before, and they last a few years if they're done right.
Okay,
So,
very good. Any other new business from the board?
Just if it would, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Montori, if it would please the board, just to give a public update on the Pinnacle Road situation, so that.
yeah. So we are going in front of Conservation tomorrow night. The DPW is going in front of Conservation tonight to present the project to them. We are slated to open bids in the next couple of weeks from contractors. I get pricing from contractors. The goal originally was to get the road open by the beginning of the school year. The one area that concerns us is this 401 water quality permit that we're going to need from DEP. Depending on the extent of that permit, that could cause us some delay. We'll know that better Friday, and essentially what that is going to be, it's going to determine how much of the area we need to dredge because of the soil conditions. So I know the Director of Public Works is very concerned about that delaying the project. We're going to meet this week to evaluate where we are and how we can ensure that this project stays on schedule. But there are some permits that are out of our control with DEP and even with the Army Corps of Engineers that could delay us. But we'll know better this week.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new business?
Can I just make a comment on that? If we are going to be reaching out to DEP, I suggest we reach out to delegation. This is a public safety matter. And I know DEP tries to do their job, but they do delay. And the paperwork doesn't move as quickly through there. But if a call from a legislator comes in and says, this is a concern of getting our police, our fire there, move these permits along, have them reaching out to the state agency and push those along as well.
Absolutely.
Draft them some letters and get them in there. We need to get this done. This shouldn't take a long time for DEP just to do paperwork. So I understand they have to do their job, but, they can be pushed a little bit as well.
No, absolutely understood.
Last but not least, a new business. Just for the board here, what we're going to do is pass around an amendment to sign. This has to do with Mr. Montori's pay increase that was voted in town meeting. So it's kind of a congratulations to Mr. Montori. And I also want to thank Mr. Todd Johnson, who's on the board, actually to push and make this happen as well as a collective board. We have a good one in Richard. We want to secure him. So again, it's a congratulations. So all we're doing is signing per the town meeting what was voted on for a pay increase and an adjustment or amendment of the town manager employee agreement. So I just wanted to make that public comments, and now I'll pass it to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick things. We have a town council invoice from May 1st, 2019 through May 15th in the amount of $3,357.50, and I would recommend approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you. And just one last thing. This was the first round of department goals and objectives. We're scheduled, I originally had a schedule for the next meeting to bring the remaining department heads in, but because of some scheduling on their part with department heads, I'm going to push that off until July's meeting, so it will not be at the next June meeting, it will be in July. And remaining is DPW, fire, town clerk, finance, and I need to just look at some other departments. So that'll happen in July, and we'll be done with goals and objectives. I may ask to start that meeting at 6 o'clock again. As you can see tonight, we went a long time, but I think you can also see from tonight the great work that the departments are doing, and I know all of you have been doing this for a long time, and you know the tough times that we had as a community. And what you saw tonight, and you'll see at the next goals and objectives session, is how far we've come And, that's a tribute to the work the department has been doing. So even the bond issue tonight that we had come in front of us, it just shows you the hard work of all the departments and the results of that. So we've had a good day.
I think you nailed it. I mean, not only, we get to work with yourself and the department heads, but for the residents to kind of see it firsthand and see the department heads and what they do, how they do it, their roles and responsibilities. I mean, it's very good stuff, so it's very positive.
So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to bring to board member reports. Let's start with Ms. Jane Miller.
I don't have much. I just wanted to offer some praise and thanks to our police department, DPW, our telemedia department, and other staff, and Mr. Kratman and Ms. Stronach, other members of the, Tanya Sullivan, members of the Patriotic Activities Committee, who made the Memorial Day Parade fantastic, the veterans, the Memorial Day services at the cemetery, and a wonderful community event. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Brian Dick.
Nothing to add tonight, Mr. Chair, thanks.
Ms. Stronach.
So I have a couple things. I want to thank the Tewksbury Public Events Committee for hosting the vintage baseball at Strongfield this weekend. While it was a beautiful day, I hope next year more people take advantage of it because it was really a great event. So I want to thank them for their hard work on that. And I would like to ask Mr. Chairman that we task Mr. Montori to send out a press release on the bond rating, because I think that's really important that residents hear. I mean, that's significant. We flooded this community with different information than what is provided in your word of speculation. I like that. So if we could, if that's okay.
Sure.
Also, I would like to, I was going to mention the June 13th joint meeting between the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen for the zoning bylaws. Really important meeting for people to maybe watch on cable, as Mr. Kratman says. And then I would just like to give a shout out to Erin Buckley, who was on the Finance Committee and really served our community very, very well. And unfortunately, she is moved out of that position because she's moved out of town. And I just want to say thank you for all of her hard work, along with Heidi Morgan from the Cultural Council, who also volunteered and is unfortunately not going to be able to serve in that capacity either. We talked tonight a lot about volunteers and the work that they do in the community, and we are better off for all those people that serve in those positions, and I appreciate that. And lastly, I know that our seniors are graduating Friday night from the high school, but we have people at Chasheen Tech and people that go to private school. I just want to congratulate everybody, as well as our college graduates, and remind them that it's time to be safe and make good choices so that they can continue long and healthy.
I hope my son's listening. All right, very good. Mr. Mark Kratman.
I got a couple of things. First off, I want to thank Lisa Downey for putting together a great service, honoring the people that gave their lives to our country, and people, especially from Tewksbury. They did a wonderful service. I think they went above and beyond. It was very touching. It's one of the great things that we enjoy going down to, and honoring the people that gave their lives for our country, and that she did a great ceremony. Second off, I want to thank Maureen DePalma and Dennis Sheehan. Without their help, we simply would not have a Memorial Day parade. They supply the floats, they get the drivers, they do the different things. I mean, I can't thank everybody on the community that gives up their time, because there's just way too many of us that go out there and do it. But, you know, the fact that, you know, these people give up when everybody's enjoying their cookouts and doing those things. I got people climbing around floats, screwing in chairs, painting, putting banners on, and it's not easy work. Instead of just sitting around with their family and having a cookout, they're doing things to honor the people that gave their lives to the country, and and they do it with smiles on their face. And a lot of people in this community gave up their whole weekend to do it, and then they went down and they helped take them apart after it was all done. So I want to thank everybody that volunteered. There was a lot of people that came in. A lot of people last minute jumped in to help fill in the voids, and I just want to thank them all very much for the work. As I mentioned earlier today, each Thursday at the end of the month, we have our Lowell Regional Transit Board. And I'm very excited to say that starting on June 16th, we're going to now have Sunday service coming through this community. I think Tewksbury is the third largest rider out of all the LRTA. And on the weekends, we're number one.
Oh, wow.
So when we get Saturday service, it's like we are number one with people that go use that bus service. And as we just heard, we have seniors that need rides and people getting around. And now they'll be able to go to Market Basket, go to church, go to different events where they were struggling using the vans and getting to different places. They want to go to Market Basket and do that on Sunday. We got grants to do that, and we're hoping it's going to be a big success and keep it going. And in my next meeting, I've talked with Mr. Montori, we're going to look at the routes, and we're going to take a ride through town and maybe try to see if we can change some of the routes to maybe bring it by the library instead of coming out of East Street, and do some things that where it won't impact one group or another, but try to do something to make it better for the community. We're a growing community. We have a whole bunch of new places, and we're going to take that into consideration. Economic development, we haven't met because of all the different meetings we've had, but I'm going to plan on having something that meetings shortly, but I am excited with the new developments that's coming to town, the new contracts that were signed to fill some empty space that's been there for a while. And so we are drawing businesses, so we are doing well, and I want to thank the town for working with the businesses and making it easier for these people that want to come here and get some tax revenues to hopefully offset our taxes. Zoning Bylaw Committee, I'm meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. So they're going through a lot with that. Hopefully we're going to get that all resolved. The Tewksbury Police Department and the Board of Health this Sunday are having their bicycle rodeo. I hope everybody stops down for that. That's starting, it's on June 9th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They always do a wonderful job with that. And I was asked to talk about the Tewksbury Wilmington CPAC Day. They're having the Day on the Hill, and they're doing that on June 27th. They'll be meeting with our legislators up there, talking about what the needs are, and hopefully getting some help with that. So that's going to be on the Hill on the 27th of June. That's all I have.
Very good. Last but not least, just a quick shout out to Matt Dugan. Matt Dugan became an Eagle Scout on Sunday, and we presented a citation on behalf of the town and the selectmen. It's awesome, always going to those events. So a shout out to Troop 49 and Mr. Matt Dugan. Way to go, bud. And that's all I have.
One quick thing.
Mr.
I
Montori.
just want to throw one quick thing out there, just to keep in the back of your minds. And Selectman Crappen and I spoke about it this afternoon. We'll be opening up the new sprinkler park down at Livingston. And next week, they'll be installing and finalizing the fitness court that's going in. We have some paving to do down there because we're going to create some walkways, better walkways and connections in the area. And we're hoping to have a ribbon cutting somewhere around June 22nd for both. So I'll be letting the board know more details on that, but if you can keep that in the back of your mind, that's the goal we're shooting for. If everything's done, no later than the 29th, but right now we're shooting for the 22nd. And I know parents have reached out to us because of both, and they're very excited. So those are two new things we're bringing to residents, and just another item down at Livingston to make it a great place to be. Awesome. So that's it.
Now, that is a way to close a meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, and I have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.